Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 601-620. Chapter 0601_Mebus Viviemilio_. My name Qin Emperor. Mira stared blankly at the man who suddenly appeared in front of her. If you read it right, it traveled through space and came suddenly. You must know that space magic is extremely esoteric. Mira didn't even feel the breath of magic, and the other party appeared directly in front of her eyes. However, compared to this, she cared more about the name, Qin Emperor. It was the first time she had heard of such a unique name. Emperor Qin, Mila said softly, do you have anything to do? If you are entrusted, could you please describe in detail? Most of the people who come to the Sorcerer's Guild are entrusting tasks, that is, employers. A task to be entrusted indeed. Qinyang Isha walked in slowly. The guild I created needs a manager. Miss Mila, you are very suitable. Can I specify the entrustment to you? Huh. Mila blinked and refused with a smile. I'm sorry, I'm not taking any orders now. Qinyang had already anticipated this, and said calmly, you have a younger sister named Lisana, who died because of a mission in her early years. But I can tell you clearly that she is not dead. I know she is in where. Lisana. Mila's smile stopped for a while. She stared deeply at Qinyang, and said, can you tell me where she is? About my proposal just now, you can reconsider. Qinyang, Vivi Isho, walked in front of her. I have a card here, and when you think of an answer, you can crush it. Between the words, Qinyang stretched out his hand to squeeze the other's chin, and said with a low smile, now, go to sleep first. The two looked at each other. The next moment, Mila felt confused and drowsy, and then her body softened and she fell into Qinyang's arms. Without magic power, S-rank mages are no different from ordinary people. Just a little bit of spiritual pressure shock can make them stunned. Shaking his head, Qinyang helped Mila to the stool beside him, then took out a black card and stuffed it into the opponent's hand. After doing this, he walked to the rear of the guild. In this guild, in addition to the hall on the first floor, there are also warehouses on the second floor and underground. Qinyang easily invaded the warehouse, and then found a door in the depths. The gate has been blessed with defensive magic, and it is difficult to shake. Unless it is violently cracked, it is impossible for ordinary people to enter. However, Qinyang is obviously not an ordinary person. He directly ignored the door and walked straight. At the moment when his body touched the door, his figure was blurred, as if he had sneaked into another different dimension, and he passed through it directly and simply. The next moment, everything behind the door is in front of Qinyang. The first thing that catches the eye is a cold fog that fills the room, and in the center of the fog, there is an ice block that resembles a crystal. In the frieze, a little girl was sealed. Judging from the degree of physical development, it is about 13 or 14 years old. The little loli is very cute, with a pair of wings on her head, and long curly blonde hair that is equal to her height. He closed his eyes tightly, and there was no life on his face. Mebus Vivian Melio, the first-generation president of Fairy Tale, a genius of magic, a fairy military. Naked body very calmly. Phantom, scan. Scanning is over. Found a trace of the origin of the world. Very faint. Sure enough, there is a world origin. Qinyang nodded clearly, and immediately wanted to reach out and try to absorb it directly. However, when his palm pressed against the ice seal, he was suddenly startled. Her heart is still beating. No, it may not be accurate to say that it is beating. It is probably similar to this fleshly body, protected by some kind of power, immortal and immortal. Qinyang frowned slightly. It seems that it can't be absorbed directly. If the seal is erased with fantasy obliteration, it cannot ensure safety. The seal cannot be easily broken. Once broken, the ghost knows what will happen. Of course, Qinyang also has other ways. Instead of absorbing it directly, he can just transcribe it. First transcribe the magic, turn it into a mysterious rune, and then absorb the origin of the world. However, This body is also useful. You have to take it away first, and then you can go directly to Mebis and ask her for the other two super magic. Thinking of this, Chinyong immediately waved his hand, tore the space, rolled up the ice seal, and placed it in the shadow world. The purpose has been achieved, and there is nothing worth collecting in the rest of the Union. The rest it's up to Uchiha Itachi. Thinking of this, Chinyang's figure quickly faded and disappeared in a blink of an eye. No one knew that the old bottom of their guild had been copied, and all the fairy tale members rushed to Nenko Park. At the same time, in the commercial street, the fire dragon Naz is at war with Urusha. Gods shine. As Urusha waved, countless crystal balls flashed in front of them, and they turned into streaks of light, pouring down towards Natsu like raindrops. The deputies are looking for me. I haven't broken anything lately. Natsu was covered in flames, facing the incoming crystal ball, dodging in embarrassment. However, his reaction speed, compared with the large number of crystal balls, still believed that he was humble, and he was knocked into the river in a few seconds. My magic is the arc of time. For example, I can dry up a river in an instant. Between the words, Urusha raised her right hand, and a magic circle appeared in her palm. The next moment, the river running through the city is dropping at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just 4 or 5 seconds, hundreds of millions of tons of river water evaporated and dissipated. What's the matter? Natsu was taken aback and watched helplessly as the water around him disappeared. I'm pushing it into a dry future. You're no match for me, Natsu Dragon, so just come with me. You can go with you, but not now, the huge monster over there, I must defeat it first. Natsu said angrily, 3.5 inches, can you get out of the way? Hearing this, Urusha sighed lightly, it's really stubborn, since that's the case, although I don't want to use that woman's magic. Facing Natsu, ice-shaped magic crystal garden. With a coquettish shout, in an instant, a huge amount of magic power, close to the magic power of the 10th level, suddenly appeared. The next moment, the entire commercial street, in an instant, turned into a world of ice crystals. Ka ka ka. Whether it is a house, a street, a bridge or a street lamp. Everything was frozen in the blink of an eye. And as the direct target of Natsu, the pillar of ice crystals that rose under his feet froze and sealed him in one breath. Huh. Urusha exhaled, then smiled and muttered to himself, Fire Dragon capture is complete. Chapter 0602 started, so what? Second update There was a mistake in the previous chapter. Mebis is not immortal, but immortal. The difference between the two is still very big. Orz. Capture complete. Urusha let out a sigh of relief, she fluttered her hair, and jumped from the roof into the river. Speaking of which, the demon over there She let out a sigh, and saw a blue cat flapping its wings and flying towards her like crazy. Naz. Hubby was angry, turned himself into a hammer, and quickly attacked Urusha. Seeing this, Urusha waved, and a crystal ball shot out, instantly knocking the blue cat flying. Boom. With a muffled sound, Happy was knocked flying, slammed into a store, and fell into a coma. This mission accomplished. Hope the dream didn't fool me. Urusha's eyes flashed, and then a rope came from somewhere, tied the frozen Natsu, dragged him, and quickly left the place. Meanwhile, South Exit Park. 15 demons liberated by the magic flute song are huge, comparable to a hill. Its body is made of dry tree branches wrapped around it, and its head has a pair of blood-red eyes. Roar. The demon Larrabee roared, and the manic sound pressure shook the eardrums. The next moment, its dry palm slapped the two of Urza fiercely. It turned out to be the devil of the Book of Jeff. Urza said in shock, transformation, sky wheel armor. Instead of approaching, she pulled away and flew far away. Immediately afterwards, the double swords in her hands fluttered and drew a circle in the air, heavenly wheel, the sword of circulation. Swish thin. Like a steel angel, as soon as Urza's voice fell, dozens of magical longswords were scattered like arrows. However, this intensive attack was slapped flying by Lullaby, and all of them were slapped off. What? Urza was taken aback. Then I saw that the demon opened his huge mouth, and the magic power in his mouth gathered to form a magic power bundle. The magic particles in the atmosphere, in the form of visible to the naked eye, quickly formed a group of shining purple light. This is the roar of the devil. With this magical power, I am afraid that half a town can be destroyed with one blow. Don't let it succeed. Urza froze in her heart, and immediately shouted, "Transformation, King Kong armor." There was a white light all over her body, and after a flash, she changed into another armor. The armor is like a silver armor, holding half a shield in each hand, and before the demon roars, it quickly merges to form a huge defensive wall. Boom! The two shields merged, and then a complex magic circle suddenly opened. The next moment, in the roar, Lullaby's roar burst out. Whoosh! A purple light pierced through the heavens and the earth, as thick as a 100-year-old tree, traversing a distance of dozens or hundreds of meters, and hit Urza fiercely. Boom! One attack and one defense, the two magic powers suddenly stalemate. Seeing this, Gray immediately panicked. What's going on? It's obviously a devil, but he actually listened to those two people's orders. He couldn't figure it out. The demon, he had seen it when he was a child, and it was one of the very powerful demons. As a magical life created by Jeff, demons are inherently powerful, not to mention obeying the orders of others, they almost only know the existence of destruction. But now the demon in front of him seems to be following Uchiha Itachi's orders, completely locking on Urza and attacking. There must be something wrong. He gritted his teeth and stared at Uchiha Itachi under the tree. After a look, he immediately noticed something was wrong, those eyes. Uchiha Itachi's eyes, similar to Lullaby's eyes, are slowly turning with three pitch-black hooks. Is it your controlling demon? Realizing this, Gray immediately collided with his fists and shouted, "Ice-shaped magic lancers." In an instant, the cold air filled the air, and the ice magic power condensed into a spear of ice in the air. The next moment, dozens of spears, all imagined Uchiha Itachi. Have you found it? Uchiha Itachi's face was indifferent, and he lacked even the awareness of evasion in the face of attacks. His finger Vivi moved, and in the next instant, countless ice spears penetrated his body. These attacks are extremely fast, but only for a split second. However, before Gray could take a breath, Uchiha Itachi, who was supposed to be killed, suddenly twisted his body, turning black, and with a puff, it scattered into crows flying all over the sky. Simple attack. Suddenly, Uchiha Itachi's voice sounded, and he said from the black crow's mouth, "It's correct that you didn't get close at the first time. But you are still not careful enough." What? Gray's eyes widened with a dull look. What kind of magic is this? Magic. It's not magic, it's ninjutsu. The voice seems to come from all directions, and it is difficult to grasp the specific direction. Everyone will rely on his own knowledge and understanding, and be bound by these things, and call these things reality. Magic. It does not exist. Magic doesn't exist. Gray looked around in a panic, trying to find Uchiha Itachi's hiding place. However, the next moment, in front of him, crows gathered and quickly turned into a figure. At such a close distance, Gray and Uchiha Itachi faced each other and looked at the eyes of blood. "Now, have your companions been captured by our men?" Hearing this, Gray's heart was shocked. Natsu. Usually, he and Natsu are deadly enemies and rivals, but they actually recognized each other. Hearing this suddenly, he suddenly felt bad. "Want to save him? Come to Karna Island." In the indifferent voice, Gray was attracted by the writing wheel, and could no longer look away. He only felt his eyelids heavy, his consciousness blurred, and he gradually fell softly to the ground. Boom! Under the illusion of San 057 Guyu Shurienyan, he couldn't support it and fell directly to the ground. Fix 1. Uchiha Itachi was not paying attention to this person, but looked at Urza. The stalemate over there has also come to an end. Under Larrabay's roar, the giant's armor resisted the attack, but Urza herself was injured, and the whole person flew upside down, releasing her outfit. Roar. As if a declaration of victory, Lullaby roared again, with magic power in his mouth again. Enough. Uchiha Itachi drank lightly, and suddenly stopped the demon. The purpose has been achieved, let's go. Saying that, he was about to turn around. But the next second, whoosh then. Dozens of wizards suddenly appeared in Nanko Park and surrounded them. Then, Makarov stepped forward with a face full of anger. As he walked, the magic power around him caused the atmosphere to vibrate, and the small stones on the ground broke free of gravity and floated up. In the land of giant dragons, I was convinced that I lost. Your master, Deathwing, is indeed not my enemy. But, you shouldn't do anything to my little devil. Dream. The anger of the Holy Ten, the magic power makes the world change. Even the atmosphere was shaking, and even the sky was whimpering miserably. Hearing this, Uchiha Itachi stopped suddenly. He turned around slowly, and glanced at Makarov with indifferent eyes. Go ahead, so what? Chapter 0603-1 verses 50. The third update. There is still a mistake in front of me. Mevis was born in 673, and now is 784, so it should be more than 100 years old, not more than 400 years old. The era of dragon wars, confused. Close black lens bracket. Go ahead, so what? Facing the furious Makarov, Uchiha Itachi just looked at each other calmly. It seems that there is no situation in the world that can change its color. Hearing this, Makarov approached step by step, and huge pressure continued to come. He opened his mouth in a low voice and said, the so-called magician fell on the mission because of his own lack of strength. But when he fell at the hands of the wicked, the pain was just like my own pain, being beheaded by the wicked. The blood that bleeds from the wound is my blood. This pain and sadness finally turned into anger and into fighting spirit. Quote. With his 2 fingers, a huge amount of magic of light suddenly gathered at his fingertips. We are not righteous, we act according to our own will, we are proud of our bondage, and annihilate all the enemies of our family. Having said that, the magic of light gathered at his fingertips reached a peak, and finally turned into meteors that shot out one after another, suddenly spread out, and fell from multiple angles. Rain of light. Along with this magic, there were also attacks from dozens of mages present. Bullet magic, water magic, fire magic, smashing magic, star spirit magic, card magic, receiving magic, belt magic, painting magic, 3-dimensional text, plant magic. In an instant, dozens of magical attacks fell on Uchiha Itachi. At this moment, Fairy Tail is full of momentum, everyone seems to be condensed into one, it is difficult to shake, and it is like a sharp sword that will cut off all enemies. Is this the guild? Uchiha Itachi said lightly, it's just so warm. As soon as the voice fell, dozens of magics were like a deadly scythe, tearing him apart in an instant. Seeing this, Kageyama, who was hiding in the distance, shouted in shock, Itachi-sama tilde. Seeing that Uchiha Itachi was torn to pieces by various magics, everyone in the fairy tale immediately relieved. HMPH, those who bully our union, this is the end. And also controlling demons, it's really abominable. The so-called most vicious and evil dark guild in history is actually not that good. There was a relaxed atmosphere for everyone. However, the next moment, a laughter sounded. I saw the torn Uchiha Itachi, with a puff, turned into a piece of shattered wood. What? The white-haired strong man Elfman's expression changed, and he said incredulously, a substitute. Everyone's expression changed in unison, and everyone's face was ugly. They looked around, trying to find Uchiha Itachi's voice. However, a voice seemed to come from all directions. Here. Everyone looked at them in unison, only to see the devil Lullaby's shoulders, the man in the black cloud robe with the red background, who was standing there calmly. Are you happy because you managed to solve a dream member? It's a pity that it doesn't exist. Hearing this, Makarov frowned deeply. It's not magic, there is no magic fluctuation at all. I am a ninja, and the only power I have is ninjutsu. Uchiha Itachi said calmly. This is the first time I've met you, so let me introduce myself first. My name is Uchiha Itachi, and I can't compare to the master and master of Deathwing, I'm just a dreamer. Ordinary members. When he spoke, his one-handed response was completed in 1 second, and the next moment, he opened his mouth to spit fire. Fire escape. Phoenix Immortal Fire Technique. Swish thin. Like missiles, like fairy flower seeds, flames spread out in all directions, hitting all the people in the guild one after another. HMPH, this little flame, are you looking down on us? Elfman roared, rushed out in 3 or 2 steps, borrowed strength on the stone bench in the park, and jumped in front of Uchiha Itachi. Accept the magic. Beast Arm Iron Bull. His right arm turned into steel and hit him hard. It's too slow, and under those eyes you move as slow as a snail crawls. Uchiha Itachi remained silent, but Vivi turned sideways, dodging in the extreme state, and at the same time, his left hand turned into a hand knife and slashed at the back of Elfman's neck. Boom! With a muffled sound, Elfman's eyes widened, only to feel that the world was turned upside down, and his consciousness was dissipated for a moment. However, before he could turn around, another punch hit his belly. Boom! Taking another blow, he pouted, spit out a mouthful of sour water, and fell directly on the demon's torso. It's you who look down on others. Uchiha Itachi glanced at him and glanced at the people present. 1, 10, 20 exactly 50 people. To deal with you, there is no need for a cadre-level shot, I alone are enough. His words, coupled with Elfman who was instantly killed, instantly made everyone feel awe-inspiring. Asshole. At this moment, Elfman, who had been knocked down, stood up again. Beast Arm Black Bull. In an instant, his left hand turned into a hand of darkness, like the claws of a monster, and grabbed it fiercely towards Uchiha Itachi. Sensing the attack, Uchiha Itachi's eyes turned cold, and suddenly he looked at it. How good is it to pretend to be dead? Between the words, his eyes condensed, and in an instant, the huge pupil power directly reflected on the other party's spiritual world. Elfman's body was stiff, and his attacking movements were stagnant. He only felt that the world had changed, the park had disappeared, his companions had disappeared, he was in a bloody world, and above the sky was a strange bloody moon. On that huge blood-colored full moon, on top of it, 3 mysterious black hook jades were slowly turning. No, that's not the moon, that's an eye. An eye that looks like a god, overlooking the whole world. Ah! Elfman screamed, holding his head, his face twisted, and suddenly fell from the demon's torso. Elfman! A smoking plane turned pale in shock and hurried to pick it up. Seeing this, Uchiha Itachi's pupils changed, and Sengoyu instantly entered a kaleidoscope state. Are wizards' mental powers so weak? He spoke softly, and all over his body, chakra surged wildly, wrapping around and turning into a half-body Valkyrie phantom. Susanoo. The huge Valkyrie phantom, holding an orange sword, under the control of Uchiha Itachi, slashed at everyone in the guild as if he was afraid of hitting the cockroaches in the house. 10-fist sword. Seeing this, everyone was furious and rushed towards Uchiha Itachi. You bastard, don't underestimate the wizards of fairy tale. Chapter-604 Wait a minute, I'll upgrade. Facing the furious fairy tale wizards, Uchiha Itachi seemed very calm. He took out Susanoo, not only did not fight the opponent, but instead controlled the demon Larabai, launched an attack, stood on the demon's torso, and watched calmly. In the face of 50 wizards, many of whom were S rank, and even the top 10 wizards, Uchiha Itachi, of course, cannot be beaten by himself. However, there is a demon as a soldier, and there is no problem in consuming a wave of the opponent. At this moment, in the face of various magical attacks, the demon Larrabee let out a roar, opened his mouth to gather magic power, turned into a roar, and shot out suddenly. Seeing this, Makarov didn't dare to be too big. His 5 fingers were spread out, and a milky white light ball was pinched between his right palm, and he shot it from the air. Whoosh! This shining sphere of light expanded several times in an instant, and then turned into a beam of light that collided head-on with the demon's roar. Boom! Under the collision of 2 huge magical powers, Lullaby's demonic roar was defeated at once. As if encountering a natural enemy, the power of the devil melted at once, and the attack that required Urz's efforts to block before was easily eliminated under Makarov's hands. After the collision of magic power, Shining of Light remained unabated, hitting the demon's chest with precision. In an instant, he was pierced by the holy light, and a huge hole appeared in Lullaby's chest. Roar! Larrabee roared, looking extremely angry, and the more angry, the stronger his power. Above his shoulders, Uchiha Itachi hid inside Susanoo, and the attacks of the other mages hit Susanoo, and they were all blocked. Light magic really restrains demons a bit, although the degree of restraint is not as good as the devil destruction method. He thought to himself, however, it's not good to let him destroy the demon so easily. He has to be forced to use the law of the goblin. Thinking of this, he immediately controlled Susanoo, swung the orange sword in his hand, and slashed towards Makarov fiercely. Seeing this, Makarov's heart froze. He could feel the strangeness of the great sword, and he could feel the crisis from it. Can't be hit. Makarov swiped his fingers to depict the Big Dipper in the air. The next moment, these 7 shining balls of light in series flew out at once, heading towards Uchiha Itachi's great sword. Boom boom boom. Once approached, the 7 shining light balls immediately detonated, and the magic of light blocked the slash of the 10-fist sword and changed its slashing trajectory. The next moment, the sword fell, but it slashed elsewhere, directly slashing a street lamp and smashing it into the park, causing electric lights to flicker. And taking this opportunity, Makarov quickly improved his magic power. He resonated the magic in his body with nature. White light flickered all over his body, and in the end, when his palms slammed together, a ball of light was smashed between them. The divine breath was born, and in the sky, a huge and complex magic circle was suddenly born. Legal laws. Whoa! In an instant, like the judgment of the gods, the magic circle from the end of the sky projected a light of judgment, which instantly fell on the heads of Uchiha Itachi and the demon Larrabee. Holy magic fills the field of vision, and this magic spreads rapidly, covering the entire town at once. Magnolia, with a population of hundreds of thousands, is enveloped by this force. It's super magic. President's fairy law. That guy is dead. Many members murmured happily. They were also illuminated by this power, but there was no nervousness at all. Because of the laws of fairies, it only has an effect on the enemy that the caster thinks, and annihilates it. For others, just being illuminated by the magic of light will wash their spirits instead. In the face of all this, Uchiha Itachi smiled instead. He looked up at the sky. The huge magic circle, all its principles, were quickly being parsed out under the gaze of the kaleidoscope shaker. After a long time, the holy light faded away. Everyone couldn't wait to look at the demon, only to see that Lullaby's already withered body was now like sand that had lost its moisture, dissipating like dust. Its body turned into dust and disappeared with the wind. Sure enough, a woman covered in alcohol exclaimed, as expected of super magic, even a demon can be killed with one blow. He he he. However, at this moment, in the dust raised by Larrabee, a body of burning orange chakra was slowly revealed. Everyone was shocked and said, "Impossible. Why is this guy okay?" Uchiha Itachi was intact, and even the Susanoo that wrapped around him already existed, but he was a little weaker. What? Makarov's expression changed, and he said in disbelief. Yesterday, he used super magic once, and the target was Deathwing, and the other party had nothing to do with it. Useful once today, and the object is just an ordinary member of the dream. Still can't kill it. The so-called demon, Lullaby is only the lowest level alien in the Book of Jirth, and it is really too weak. Uchiha Itachi said calmly, "It will be sooner or later that you will destroy it, but it's just a pity for a mysterious rune." Between the words, the orange Valkyrie around him was rapidly fading, and then slowly dissipated. "I don't have enough chakras. It takes a lot to control a demon." Itachi Uchiha shook his head, still very calm. "Humph." Seeing this, Makarov snorted coldly. "Although I don't know how you are safe under the goblin law, but in the face of so many of us, your consumption is seriously insufficient. Surrender." "Indeed, I only have a tenth of my chakra left." Uchiha Itachi nodded. "You can only use 2 or 3 ninjutsu at most." Hearing this, the nose of the plane with the cigarette holder in his mouth suddenly smiled. "I don't really understand what chakra is, anyway, it's something similar to magic. Without magic, your special eyes can't be used anymore." Between words, he and his partner winked. The next moment, the two of them started working together. Smoke assault. Purple-red Skynet. Smoke spit out from the cigarette holder, turned into a fist, and rushed away. At the same time, the purple flames turned into Skynet, as if hunting, locking on Uchiha Itachi. The face of 2 attacks, Uchiha Itachi was not in a hurry. He slowly formed the seal, and said softly, "Ninja, substitute technique." With a bang, his body turned into a piece of wood. "What? You can still use a stand-in?" Mikao's face darkened. Everyone looked sideways at the big tree in the park. On the tree, Uchiha Itachi appeared at an unknown time. "Insufficient chakra, please wait a moment, I will upgrade first." He Isho, suddenly called, "Summon Shadow Demon." As soon as the voice fell, the power of the shadow gathered, and a dark figure condensed on his side. "This is 36 magic jades, enough for you to rise to 5 stars. With a wave of the shadow demon, he handed out 36 crystal-clear gems. Uchiha Itachi immediately grabbed it and quickly absorbed it. The next moment, a huge chakra burst out of his body. "Not good. He's regaining his strength." The nose of the plane was shocked and shouted, "Hurry up and stop him." Chapter 0605-5-star Weasel. Bang! The 36 phantom jades submitted by the shadow demon were directly crushed by Uchiha Itachi, turned into pure mysterious power, and began to nourish his body. Unlike ordinary transformation, Uchiha Itachi's rising star, most of the mysterious power, is used to strengthen his eyes. 1-hook jade writing wheel eye, 2-hook jade writing wheel eye, 3-hook jade writing wheel eye, kaleidoscope writing wheel eye, eternal kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. In just a short while, Uchiha Itachi's eyes re-evolved, and finally settled at the level of the eternal kaleidoscope. This is the final form of Sharingan. In the past kaleidoscope, too many pupils were used, and the vision would decrease until blindness. But the eternal kaleidoscope will not. The powerful pupil power has been improved several times, and there is no defect at all. Eternal kaleidoscope. Uchiha Itachi secretly said, "If you want to evolve into a Rinnegan, I'm afraid you need the power of another phantom body, but let's forget it for now and talk about it later." His kaleidoscope writing wheel eye is in the shape of a big windmill. At this moment, it has evolved into an eternal kaleidoscope, and its shape has also changed. Of course, the shape doesn't matter. At the same time, in his mind, the changes of the transformed information came one after another. 7th change, Uchiha Itachi, Ninja. Star rating. Ability 1, Eternal Kaleidoscope Writing Wheel Eye. Ability 2, Fire Ninjutsu. Ability 3, Water Escape Ninjutsu. Ability 4, Forbidden Art Izanami. Ability 5, Don't Be a God. Ability 1 needs no elaboration. Ability 2 Fire Escape. On the basis of the original, more Fire Escape Ninjutsu can be used. And Ability 3 is similar to Ability 2, but the nature is replaced by Water Escape. As for Ability 4, this is the biggest surprise of this star ascension. First of all, Izanami, the ultimate ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan, was listed as a forbidden technique because the cost of using it was too high. This super ninjutsu, also known as the fate-determining technique, uses physical contact to cause the target object to fall into infinite reincarnation. If you want to escape, you must see yourself clearly, admit yourself, and change your mind. It can be said that once this ninjutsu is activated, the battle is basically over. And the price of this ninjutsu is that the eye that uses Izanami will lose its light forever and will never be able to open again. However, this is a general situation. A 5-star Uchiha Itachi can use this trick without restrictions. The only side effect is that it consumes a lot of pupil power. Basically, once used once, that eye, at least within a day, can't be used. This is the fourth ability, and the other gods of ability are more interesting. Other gods are not Uchiha Itachi's pupil technique, but the unique illusion of another Uchiha man. The ability of the other gods has also changed. It can directly invade the enemy's brain and modify the opponent's will without being noticed. To put it simply, it is to turn all the people the caster sees into his puppets, which is the strongest illusion. Every time you use it, it takes more than 10 years of cooling time. However, in Uchiha Itachi, the side effects disappeared, but at the same time, only one target unit can be controlled. Once it is used on the second target, the spell of the first target will be automatically released. After understanding his own abilities, Itachi Uchiha couldn't help but secretly exclaimed, "After the 5-star rating, my combat power has increased by 2 levels. The pupil power has increased by more than 5 times. The star-raising process that seems to be extremely long is actually only 10 seconds before and after." When Uchiha Itachi's chakra recovered again and was stronger than before, many members of the fairy tale below also reacted one by one. "Not good. He's regaining his strength. Stop him," the plain head wizard shouted. However, they didn't wait for everyone to act. Uchiha Itachi chuckled. "It's been a long wait. My upgrade has been completed. So, Susanoo." Boom boom boom. The violent orange chakra overflowed from its body, quickly wrapped around it, and turned into a huge Valkyrie. Different from the half-body phantom in the past, this time, it is the real complete body, and the pupil power of the eternal kaleidoscope writing wheel eye is enough to use the complete body. What? The shape of the turtle shell has changed. A handsome blonde boy shouted in surprise. The huge Valkyrie, wearing armor, wings on his back, and holding a long sword, stands in the center of the park like a giant. That century-old tree was stomped off by the complete Susanoo. Uchiha Itachi did not hide in Susanoo's body, but stood in front of him, staring calmly at the fairy tale crowd. "It's not a turtle shell." Uchiha Itachi smiled and said, "It's the ultimate ninjutsu that combines offense and defense. Of course, now I have given up defense, and correspondingly, I have greatly strengthened the attack." At the moment of speech, the complete body Susanoo took a step, raised his foot high, and stepped on several fairy tale members. The frightened people didn't respond at all, and looked at this scene with shock on their faces. "Go back, leave it to me here," Makarov roared, and within a few steps, the man had begun to expand rapidly, turning into a tall giant more than 10 meters tall. However, compared with Susanoo, his giant still believes in ignorance. In the face of this shocking step, Makarov quickly squatted and raised his hand to block the blow. Boom! The earth trembled, like a thunderclap on the ground, and the entire park was torn apart under this step. Resisting this step head-on, Makarov's face flushed with blood, obviously very uncomfortable. "Makarov, even in the top 10 magic wizards, you are still at the median level. Unfortunately, you are no longer my opponent." Uchiha Itachi's eyes were calm, he stared at him, and whispered in his mouth, "Don't be a god." Boom! It was like the Big Bang of the universe, and Makarov only felt his spirit bang and fell into a blank space. His will was modified by a force, and his cognition was deviated. The enemy, from the dream member Uchiha Itachi, was changed to fairy tale. The change of position, and even the eyes that looked at Uchiha Itachi, had gone from being hostile to being sluggish, and then turned into respect. "Itachi, sir," Makarov said blankly, then quickly knelt down on one knee and said respectfully, "Thanks to Lord Itachi, otherwise I would continue to sink." "What?" The few fairy tale members who had just been rescued fell into a sluggish state one by one. The air seemed to freeze, and the whole place was silent. At this time, Urza struggled to stand up, looked at Uchiha Itachi angrily, and said, "You bastard, what did you do?" "Goblin Queen, you are useless, your magic, I have already transcribed it, lie down obediently." Uchiha Itachi stepped closer and walked towards Makarov. "As for your president, rest assured, it's just under my control. After using it, I will give it back to you. After his other gods are removed, the other party will return to normal. Of course, if you are hit multiple times, your memory may be confused." Makarov: "Yes, Itachi-sama. With goblin laws. He has roughly analyzed this super magic, and once again, he can transcribe it." And when he heard this, Makarov did not hesitate at all, and did it immediately. Snapped. With a light sound, above the sky, a huge sacred circle appeared again. The Goblin the Law. Chapter-601-620 Ulu. Fairy Laws. Using super magic again, Makarov's magic power consumption is even more serious. This time, no one was marked as an enemy, so it was a flashbang. Taking this opportunity, Uchiha Itachi completed the analysis of the fairy law. When the white light dissipated, Uchiha Itachi had copied a new mysterious rune from Makarov. This rune appeared in his palm, with a silver luster, extremely complicated, and contained within it the mysterious power equivalent to 8 magic jades, as well as a trace of the power of the origin of the world. Sure enough, super magic contains a trace of origin. Uchiha Itachi secretly said, "Do you want to keep collecting super magic, then complete the source, and finally absorb and control the world?" The ghost knows how many super magic there is. In the long history, there have been too many super magic. Where can I copy it? It's impossible to collect it all. He shook his head and said softly, "However, you can collect more, and then absorb some of the world's origin, so that you may be able to find where the rest of the world's origin is." Just thinking about it, everyone recovered from the law of the goblin again and glared at Uchiha Itachi. "What do you want to do?" He. Hearing this, Uchiha Itachi chuckled and said, "My mission has been completed. As for the rest of you magic, please transcribe it at another time. Goodbye, wizards of fairy tale." Between the words, Susano suddenly dispersed, his figure flashed, and he quickly evacuated. Seeing this, someone will immediately go after him. "Don't," Mikao said solemnly. "Follow up, we can't beat that guy, let's take a look at the situation of the president first." Everyone immediately reacted, and they all hated. Dreams are so abominable. Elsa, Gray, Elfman, and Makarov were the 4 most seriously injured. Of course, it's all minor injuries, nothing serious. Chin Yang's shot is very measured. However, when they returned to the guild, they suddenly found that Mira fell into a deep sleep. Makarov, who had recovered from Tianshan, suddenly sank in his heart. Oops, this is a tug of war. He left the person who was helping him and rushed to the bottom of the guild. At the same time, Gray woke up, and he shouted for the first time, "Where is Natsu?" When everyone saw it, they realized that Natsu, who was usually the most noisy, had disappeared. "I don't know," a female member said blankly. "Isn't he with you?" Oops. Gray immediately reacted, with an ugly face. They were taken away. Karna Island. Recalling what Uchiha Itachi said to him before he passed out, Gray suddenly felt that he had to go. Karna Island. It is a very remote island, located overseas, about 110 nautical miles. There is a village on the island, but the villagers are not human beings, but demons. Of course, they are not artificial demons or magical beings like Larrabee. These villagers are pure-blooded demons. On the north side of the village, there is a temple in the forest. At this moment, outside the temple, Arusha was grabbing a rope, pulling a wooden board to pull the cart, and slowly walked into it. On top of the wooden cart is an ice crystal with Natsu Dragon Neil sealed inside. I almost forgot, I have to change my identity. Suddenly, Arusha stopped, and Isho reached out and wiped her face. The next moment, she changed from a woman to a wretched short man, wearing various feather decorations, like an Indian. Turn into magic. Hee hee. With a low male laugh, Arusha continued walking towards the temple. As soon as they entered the entrance, a group of people came out. The leader is a man wearing a horn helmet mask and a gorgeous cloak, and beside him, there is a red-haired woman, a thick-browed man dressed in Chinese-style clothing, and a guy with animal ears. 4 people. Man in the helmet looked at Arusha and said, "Saruti, where have you been? The one behind you is..." "Ho ho ho, Lord Zero." Arusha giggled, "This guy is the wizard of fairy tale, Natsu Dragon Neil. The rumored fire dragon." The red-haired woman said in surprise, "Why was it frozen?" "I provoked a powerful magician outside. I just passed by and caught him back. Maybe it will be useful for the plan." Arusha flickered casually. "HMPH, what's the use?" The thick eyebrows put his hands on his back and pouted, "You are really picking up things. Lord Emperor Ling, throw this guy into the sea to feed the fish." Hearing this, the masked man known as Emperor Zero raised his hand and said, "No, lock it up first. Saruti, 3 years have passed and the plan is about to be completed, so don't run around for the time being." "Yes, Lord Zero." Arusha Isho, VV's lowered eyes, his eyes twinkling. When Emperor Ling and the others left, Arusha dragged the trailer and continued to walk towards the temple. She didn't go to the upper floor, but went all the way down and came to a cave. At the bottom of the temple, there is a huge cave. In the depths of the cave, there is a pool. In the pool is a huge ice sculpture. Inside the ice sculpture, a demon with a fierce face is sealed. Not pure blood demons, but magical beings, the demons of the Book of Zelf. Its name is Daliola, the Undead Calamity. Looking at this guy, Arusha's eyes showed a trace of reminiscence, and after a while, it turned into hatred. "Ulu, I will kill you with my own hands." She pulled the wooden trailer and came to the pool. After completing the task, "Just call those 2 names." She murmured, hesitated for a moment, and then said loudly, "Emperor Qin." However, in the past 3 or 5 seconds, nothing has changed. "Emperor Qin." Arusha's smile stopped, and she called out again, "You bastard, are you kidding me? You shouldn't be gullible, really." Before the words were finished, there was a sudden breeze in the cave, and the next moment, a man dressed in white with an ethereal posture suddenly appeared. Qinyang floated off the ground, carrying his hands on his back, staring at the ice sculpture demon calmly. "This." Arusha's eyes widened, and she was shocked. "It's true. Is this guy the leader of dreams?" She took a deep breath, a little startled. If it wasn't for the naked eye to see the existence of the other party, she wouldn't even be able to detect the other party's presence. "Yulusha." Suddenly, Qinyang looked sideways, looked at the woman, and said, "Your mission has been completed, and you have passed the test. From now on, you are a member of the dream." "How do you know it's 5.0 me?" Arusha gritted her teeth. "I've changed my face now." Transforming into magic, unless she takes the initiative to remove it, even Saint Ten will not be able to see it. "Tricks of carving insects," Qinyang Isho said. "No matter how you change, the essence of your soul will not change. My eyes can see through all things." Of course, this is flickering, he just knows that Saruti is the incarnation of Arusha. After hearing this, Arusha was fortunately changed back, and then smiled tenderly. "Since I have completed the test, can I resurrect her?" "Are you going to revive this demon, or do you want to revive the mother who turned into ice in order to seal the demon?" Qinyang asked. "Of course it's the woman." "Really?" Yang shook his head, waved his hand, took out a phoenix feather, and threw it towards the ice seal. Then, as you wish. The next moment, the phoenix feather emits colorful rays of light. Chapter-601-620 You are also worthy of being called Emperor. As you wish. Following Yang's words, he threw out a phoenix feather in his hand. The golden feathers swept over the pool and finally stuck to the ice sculpture. The next moment, the phoenix feathers radiated colorful radiance, illuminating the entire cave. Bathed in this light, Arusha could clearly feel that there was a huge breath of life nourishing all things. She watched all this without blinking, and was extremely curious about the ritual of resurrection. It's not the power of magic, but it seems, purer than magic, more. She didn't know how to describe this feeling, but if she had to say it, it should be an essence, and this force was closer to the essence of nature than magic. The radiance is overwhelming, and the colorful brilliance fills the field of vision. I saw that in the ice sculpture. The ice was shining brightly, and the light blue soul substance was being stripped out. The traces of soul fragments gathered in front of the pool, like a vortex, quickly assembled and attracted each other. Yulusha's mother, in order to seal the demon, sacrificed her own life to use a kind of magic. She did not completely die and dissipate, but melted her soul into the ice, so she can let this seal remains. Yang looked calm and looked at this scene calmly. I pulled away the soul fragments in the ice seal and resurrected it. Then, this seal has also lost its power, it's just a piece of ice. The devil will also wake up. It's just right when he wakes up, the lullaby he controlled before has been killed, and now it's just to add one, allowing him to study the principles of artificial demons. Just thinking about it, the soul vortex in front of the two has completely turned into a human form. It was a woman who appeared to be in her mid-30s, floating in midair at the moment, her eyes tightly closed. She had short black hair and was naked with no strands. And with the resurrection of her soul, her magic power also began to grow, and her body was reshaped. Suddenly, the woman opened her eyes, and her pupils were full of confusion. When she opened her eyes, she immediately saw Yang and Arusha. Especially when she saw Arusha, she couldn't help being stunned. She felt a kind of blood connection, as if the other party was her own child. But, impossible. Her daughter died. When she was young, she died. Who are you? Ulu murmured suspiciously. What's wrong with me? She looked at her state. Her body was being reconstructed. Her soul had been repaired. She died, but now she is resurrected. Seeing this, Yang glanced at Arusha. The woman stared at her mother with complicated eyes. Yulusha, I have fulfilled your request. Yang said calmly. Leave a little time for the two of you to communicate, and I will deal with an arrogant guy. After speaking, he looked at Ulu's words, leaving a meaningful look, and then turned to leave the cave. Ulu didn't care about this at all. After hearing the name, Yulusha, her eyes were locked on the girl in front of her. Yulusha, Ulu said in disbelief. You are Yulusha. My daughter. Hearing this, Arusha frowned, hatred flashed in her eyes, and it took a while to relax. Ulu no, the sad woman who was abandoned by her husband because of her passion for magic, my mother. She mocked. After the day you abandoned me, you never thought that we would meet under such circumstances. Huh. Abandon. Ulu's eyes widened. I didn't abandon you. Are you really Arusha? Not to mention the conversation between the mother and daughter, Yang was completely too lazy to answer. He has no interest in this kind of family ethics drama. It is nothing more than a tragedy caused by a misunderstanding. Both parties are pitiful people, and no one is the wrong party. Of course, this misunderstanding made Yulusha hate her mother very much, so Yang saw the future, and in a few minutes, Ulu would be killed. And with this little time, he had to deal with an idiot. He left the cave and went to the top floor of the Temple of Ruins. Boom! A door was blasted open by an invisible force, and Yang walked into a hall. In the hall, a man wearing a horn helmet was sitting on the throne, clasping his fists with both hands, as if he was contemplating. He heard the sound of breaking the door, and immediately raised his head. When he saw Qin Yang, Vivi couldn't help but startled. "Who are you?" said the masked man bluntly. "You are Zero Emperor?" Qin Yang asked knowingly. "I still know my name." Emperor Zero stood up from the throne, and Vivi narrowed his eyes behind the mask. "You can't even feel the magic power. It seems that you are not the sorcerer who accepted the mission and came here to investigate. Such people have been there several times before." Because of his plan, a ceremony was performed in the temple to resurrect the demon Daliola, which led to the mutation of the island and even the appearance of a blood moon. Therefore, the villagers on the island entrusted a task to the Sorcerers Guild on the mainland, and the rank is still S rank. "It's not a magician. What are you doing here?" Emperor Zero frowned. "No, it doesn't matter. Since you found it here, don't blame me." He. Qin Yang, Isho, said, "I have no grudge against you, but your title of Emperor Zero has violated our taboos. The title of Emperor is the only one, and now I give you two choices." "What?" Emperor Zero looked at each other angrily. "First, get rid of me. Second, change the title." Hearing this, Emperor Ling laughed angrily. "I don't know what it is." As he said that, his right hand suddenly stretched out, and the magic power in his palm gathered. Shape of ice, sharp sword. Ka ka ka. A sword of ice suddenly appeared. The sword was 10 meters long, and it slashed towards Qin Yang. Seeing this, Qin Yang stretched out a finger. Boom. With a soft sound, when the Ice 417 sword was cut down, it suddenly stopped and was firmly blocked by an index finger. What? Emperor Zero was shocked. He still didn't perceive the magic power, that is to say, the opponent easily blocked his magic attack by relying on the brute force of one finger. The magic power is vain and the shape is unstable. The strength and magnitude of the magic power are not worth mentioning, and they are not even S rank. Qin Yang shook his head, flicked his fingers, and with a bang, the entire ice sword shattered like a glass plate in an instant, turning into cool ice dust. Just because you are like this, you are also worthy of being called Emperor. As soon as Qin Yang pointed it out, the force of frost on his fingertips turned into a spiral, and then shot out suddenly, like an ice spear. The ice spear stretched in an instant, piercing the heart of Emperor Zero in an instant. PFF'd. Emperor Ling snorted, his eyes widened, full of disbelief. Impossible, what kind of speed is this? Ice modeling magic has great requirements for speed and stability. The person in front of him was as fast as lightning, at least 10 times faster than him. He didn't even need a prelude, he didn't even have a fixed gesture, and he controlled magic like an arm. What made him even more unacceptable was that he still didn't feel the flow of magic power. Who the hell are you? With a mouth full of blood and confusion, Emperor Ling gritted his teeth and asked this sentence. Qin Yang dispersed the ice wall, and the other party fell to the ground immediately. My name is Qin, past and future, thousands of worlds, one emperor from ancient times. Chapter 0608_Dragon King. Emperor Ling was pierced through his heart, and his whole body fell to the ground. Do it yourself, if I am hearing the title of Emperor Zero. Shaking his head, Qin Yang ignored it, turned and left the room. And shortly after he left, a red-haired woman walked in. Lord Zero, it's time for the ceremony. However, halfway through her words, she stopped abruptly. Lord Zero Emperor. When she saw the situation in the house, her pupils shrank. The red-haired woman quickly ran to the corpse and helped the corpse up. The heart was pierced. Lord Lingdi. There was a hint of weeping in her voice. At this moment, a weak voice came from behind the throne. I'm here. This voice is Emperor Zero. The red-haired woman caught her breath and widened her eyes. She was shocked to find that the corpse in her arms was rapidly turning into an ice sculpture, and finally burst with a bang. Shape of ice substitute. After the throne, Emperor Zero's voice came again, but this voice seemed extremely trembling and fearful. If it wasn't for my caution, I would have died. Who is that person? Quote. Lord Zero Emperor. The red-haired woman ran quickly, and sure enough, behind the throne, she saw Emperor Ling, who was paralyzed on the ground. No, Emperor Ling hurriedly said. Don't call me, Emperor Ling. From today, call me Birthright, Leon. Leon Bastia. Hearing this, the red-haired woman said blankly, Zero, no, Lord Leon, what happened? A man broke in suddenly. Leon obviously did not calm down, and his breathing still seemed to be rapid. What did you say? The Emperor was the only one, and suddenly started it. Fortunately, I released the double in advance and escaped the disaster. The red-haired woman wondered, has he gone? Should go? No, maybe not. Leon held the wrist of his right hand with his left hand, and seemed to restrain his trembling. My stand, in can't imitate the breath, that kind of master will definitely find it. Especially the last words, which are obviously warnings. The other party may have discovered from the beginning that it was a stand-in. In this way, he can survive, and he has to thank the other party for his kindness. Anyway, the title of Emperor Zero is not allowed to be used from today. Leon took a deep breath, and then seemed to remember something. His expression changed. Shui Li, come, follow me to the underground cave. And Yuka and Toby, where are they? Underground cave. When Qin Yang returned here, it was already in chaos. The Urusha mother and daughter seemed to be fighting. No, it seems inaccurate to use the fighting, because the Uru did not resist at all. A dagger was inserted into her mouth, the corners of her mouth were full of blood, and she was obviously dying. But despite this, her expression was very gentle. Looking at Urusha, she looked extremely soft and content. Urusha's face was very crazy. She stared at Uru and shouted, when you abandon me, you should think of this day. You have no idea what kind of torture I suffered in the laboratory. I tried my best to escape, but what I saw was Yuan. It doesn't matter, Ulu coughed twice. His will gradually blurred. I am a dead person. I can look at you again and see that you are still alive. I am satisfied. Urusha. Saying that, she looked at Qin Yang, who was approaching, and a smile appeared on her bloody lips. Thank you. He. Facing this situation, Qin Yang couldn't help but laugh silently. It's a boring family ethics drama. You don't need to thank me, I just fulfilled the agreement. Having said this, he looked at Urusha. You were born with a very powerful magic power, but you are too young and your body is not yet developed to withstand that huge magic power. Your mother tried her best to heal you. The solution was finally handed over to a laboratory. Right. How do you know? Urusha's expression changed slightly. She had never mentioned this to anyone. I know the past and the future. Do you want to hear the truth? Qin Yang, Vivi Isho, seemed very happy to attack this revengeful woman, so without waiting for the other party to answer, he continued. In the beginning, your mother would come to see you, and the laboratory also allowed it, but after that, the director of the laboratory, in order to study magic, he used you as a test product. For this reason, he could not let Ulu know, so he told your mother that your illness could not be successfully cured and died. Uru, who was desperate, returned home and adopted 2 people later. Disciple. Hearing this, Urusha showed an expression of disbelief. She knew it wasn't like that. Later, when you escaped from the laboratory and returned home, you saw the smiles of your mother and disciples, and decided that Ulu had abandoned you, so you wanted to kill you now. This is the truth, the boring truth. I don't believe it, Urusha said. This heartless woman, she abandoned me. I was her burden. She adopted 2 disciples, and they lived happily. But I suffered in the laboratory inhuman torture. You killed her just now. Did she resist? Qin Yang said calmly. 10 years ago, your mother was a great wizard who was very close to the Holy 10. Now she was resurrected by my power. Her strength is a little stronger, and she has reached the level of the Holy 10. If she doesn't want to die, can you kill her easily? Hearing this, Urusha was stunned. She recalled the scene of killing her mother just now. Except for the moment when she stabbed the dagger into the opponent's chest, Ulu was a little confused. After that, there was no resistance, and she was even relieved and satisfied. If a person can still disguise at the time of death, Marusha also thinks it is impossible. She trembled and stared blankly at her mother, Ulu Ulu. She shouted, but saw Ulu fall to the ground, and her breath quickly dissipated. Dead, the heart was pierced, and it's still a magic weapon. You really did a ruthless attack to kill your mother. Qinyang shook his head speechlessly. If it is an ordinary weapon, it can't be said that it can't rely on powerful magic, and it can still survive for a while. However, now that he is really dead, almost no one can save him except him. Even if he can be saved, it is not the real Ulu. Thinking of this, Qinyang calmly turned around and walked to Natsu's ice sculpture. With a wave of his hand, he wiped off the ice. Natsu's eyelids trembled, and he slowly opened his eyes. However, before he could recover Qingming, Qinyang lifted him up and slapped him on the mouth. The Dragon Slayer Magician of Fire. The Fire Dragon King in your body should come out and breathe. Between the words, he twitched violently. The next moment, a huge magic power suddenly rose into the sky. This magic power is pure giant dragon power, extremely hot, burning everything. Immediately afterwards, the sound of the dragon's roar sounded, and from the flames, a giant dragon with a huge body was born. I am the Fire Dragon King Ignir. Who are you? Zhulong looked down at Qinyang, spit out human words. Chapter 0609-Beat the Fire Dragon King. I am the Fire Dragon King, Nikanal. Who are you? Tilda. The giant of Fire Dragon looked down at Qinyang and spit out human words. Nonetheless, it was very shocking. It survives in the body of the Dragon Slayer with the technique of the Dragon Soul, and no one can perceive its existence unless it shows up actively. Not to mention perception, the person in front of him can actually pull it out directly. That's right, just pull it out and force it to invalidate the Dragon Soul technique. I am Emperor Qin, the Lord of Dreams. Qinyang looked at the Fire Dragon King. Compared with the Iron Dragon Metalicana, Dragon Neil, or Nikonir, was obviously much stronger. Even in the state of the Dragon Soul, it has extremely powerful combat power. This power is obviously going to surpass the 10th level magician. This is only a weak state. If it is in its heyday, it can be stronger. Roughly assessing the combat power of this dragon, I am afraid that it is equivalent to the master level. It may be slightly inferior to the Sea Dragon, but it is not necessarily much weaker than the Thunderlight Master and the Sky Master. Thinking of this, he didn't want to talk nonsense, and said bluntly, Agunye, I can save you, but you have to join our giant dragon army. Before that, I have rescued the Iron Dragon Metallica. Nah, it has joined. This, the Fire Dragon King couldn't help but startled, Metallicana. That Iron Dragon, of course it knows, although the relationship is not very good. I didn't expect that guy to join the giant dragon army to serve the human being in front of him. No, the person in front of him is not necessarily a human, and the breath of ordinary humans and mages is completely different. Is that why you called me to show up? The Fire Dragon King was silent for a moment, then glanced at Natsu. Agunal. Natsu's eyes widened, and he said with joy, Nigunal, I found you. Natsu, I've been inside you. I've seen everything about you for 7 years. The Fire Dragon King's eyes softened a little, however, now is not the time to talk about this, so hurry up and run away. I'll block this man. Stop me. Qinyang raised his eyebrows. Where did you get the confidence? As soon as the voice fell, a roar suddenly came. Not after the giant dragon, but a demon. The roar of the frozen disaster, Daliola. Ka ka ka. The sealed ice block is being broken, and without the suppression of Ulu's soul, this magic has been difficult to maintain. The roar, the seal was broken, and the calamity demon reappeared. Roar. With a loud roar, Daliola opened her huge mouth and absorbed the magic particles in the surrounding air. Noisy. Qinyang snorted, raised his palm, like driving away flies, and slapped Vivi. Suddenly, an invisible force, like an invisible big hand, slapped it fiercely. With a bang, Daliola failed to roar, and the entire huge body was shot into the mountain of the cave with a single blow. What? Fire Dragon King was taken aback. What kind of power is this? It's not magic. No matter what kind of power, its essence is the same. Qinyang said calmly. Ask again, Agunye, the Fire Dragon King, do you want to be resurrected by me, join the giant dragon army, or just dissipate? You should know that if I forcefully pull you out, the technique of the dragon soul will no longer work. At most a quarter of an hour, and you will dissipate. This judgment is absolutely correct. The Fire Dragon King's eyes narrowed, and it fell immediately. It grabbed Natsu with one claws and roared him out of the cave. Go, Natsu, I can only hold back a quarter of an hour. Seeing this, Qinyang nodded and said softly, if that's the case, then we have to use force. Normally, I like peace. Don't blame me for that. Between the words, his figure disappeared instantly. The next moment, he had appeared before the huge head of the Fire Dragon King. You think you can stop me for a quarter of an hour? You think too much. With a sweep, it kicked directly on the head of the Fire Dragon King. Boom. The incomparably heavy kick was as heavy as a mountain peak. After the Fire Dragon King threw Natsu, he was hit hard before he had time to dodge. Its dragon scales could not resolve this explosive force at all. Its entire face was twisted and collapsed, and several bones were broken. Immediately afterwards, it was kicked away by a blow, smashed through the mountain, and was kicked directly outside the temple. Roar! The next moment, the giant dragon roared, and the dragon was majestic. The Fire Dragon King quickly spread his wings, broke out of the ground, and flew directly into the sky. Roar of the Fire Dragon. It took a deep breath, the magic power in its body gathered, turned into a fiery delay, and jetted out in the direction of Qinyang. However, before the flame was swallowed, a palm suddenly pressed over. All the flames vanished the moment it touched that palm. At this temperature, do you want to light a candle? I'm not even afraid of a high temperature of 15 million degrees. Qinyang's palm penetrated the flame and grabbed the Fire Dragon King's neck directly. The next moment, he forcefully slammed it and threw it towards the ground with a light drink. Boom! I saw that the balance of the giant dragon's body was destroyed, and it was smashed into the forest like a huge sandbag. In the roar, the Fire Dragon King let out a roar. Shiranhaka Gurren Phoenix Sword. It flapped its wings, and its whole body was filled with golden flames. Like a phoenix arrow, it suddenly shot towards Qinyang in the air. In the face of this blow, Qinyang calmly stood up in the air, its tingling, it's worthy of being a giant dragon. Seeing the Fire Dragon King approaching, Qinyang calmly stretched out his right hand. Boom! Pressing it with one hand directly grabbed the opponent's head, enough to hit the impact of the broken island, and under this press, it was instantly resisted. The shock wave that was set off immediately spread out in all directions. The nearest temple roared and began to shake and collapse violently. The underground caves below it are collapsing. Ulu, Ulu, Ulu. Urusha held her mother's body and kept shouting. The collapse of the cave did not bring her back to her senses. Seeing the boulders falling down, she directly protected her mother's body with her body, and was then buried. However, at this time, Qinyang had no time to take care of this woman. On the other hand, when Leon and the others rushed out of the collapsed temple, they saw the two sides fighting in the sky in one sentence. Giant dragon. Leon's pupils shrank, and he said in horror, "It's the man just now." Sydney opened her mouth blankly. It turned out to be a dragon. Why is there a dragon here? A Gunal. Natsu looked at the scene of the sky, and his heart was also shocked. Gurren Phoenix Sword, that is the mystery of dragon slaying, is one of his strongest moves. The Fire Dragon King used it to smash the island with one blow, but the man blocked it with just one hand, and he didn't even take a half step back. How is it possible? Igneo looked shocked. How could human beings have such power? Nothing is impossible. Qinyang pressed the fire suddenly, and a huge momentum suddenly knocked the Fire Dragon King into the air. Since you choose to fight, then I will beat you first. Chapter-610 willing to work for you. Beat you. The moment he heard this sentence, the Fire Dragon found that in his field of vision, the other party's figure had disappeared. The next moment, its back was slammed, and with a bang, its huge body quickly fell into the forest. Qinyang stepped on the back of the Fire Dragon King and knocked it down into the sky, all the way down to the ground. Monster-like physique. This is definitely not human. The Fire Dragon King roared, and under the opponent's step, his internal injury was serious, and for a while, he was unable to gather strength to break free. He fell on all fours and tried to get up, but was trampled down again. Have you taken it? Qinyang spoke calmly. No matter how powerful the Fire Dragon King is, it is not his opponent, nor is it a level at all. If it wasn't for the fact that the opponent only had half his life left, he could break the opponent in an instant and make him lose his combat effectiveness. Being trampled underfoot by Qinyang, the Fire Dragon King held his breath and continued to struggle. Usually the power of a magician comes from magic, and the magic particles in nature are absorbed into the body to strengthen their own physique. But this is something ultimate. Who are you? Humans don't have such power. From beginning to end, it didn't feel the presence of magic. This is not the legendary great wizard who has reached the abyss level, but the pure flesh is too strong, incredibly strong, much stronger than it is a giant dragon. Of course, the 6-star illusory god, after 6 evolutions, has a very strong physique. If it is placed in some martial arts world, it is also a top-level existence, which can be called human immortal. Looks like you're not convinced yet. Qinyang Isho, Vivi raised his hand, turned his palm into a fist, and then slammed towards the giant dragon under his feet. Boom! The terrifying fist power penetrated the body of the Fire Dragon in an instant, knocking its internal organs out of place, and under this blow, cracks appeared all over half the forest. Roar! Agunyal, who was in pain, let out a painful cry, only to feel that his whole body was about to fall apart, and even the strength to resist and struggle was much smaller. How do you think about it? Qinyang asked calmly. However, before the Fire Dragon King could speak, Natsu, who was thrown out of the cave by it earlier, rushed over. He jumped up, his fist wrapped the flame of the dragon, and slapped Qinyang with anger. You bastard! Boom! His punch went and landed on Qinyang's face. Y_C. However, before the hit, an invisible barrier suddenly opened. This punch bombarded the barrier and couldn't shake it. And Natsu himself, who shot, was violently bounced off by the force of the shock. This guy is an idiot. Not far away, Leon said in shock. In the face of such an existence that can hang and beat a giant dragon, dare to take action. Crazy. Seeing that the dragons were repaired so miserably, he suddenly felt a lot of balance. Thinking of my previous scene, I secretly sighed that I was so lucky to survive, and I had to thank this person for his kindness. At this moment, Qinyang suddenly reached out to Natsu, and at the same time, his pupils changed, turning into circles of eyes of reincarnation. Universal pull. Suddenly, a powerful absorption force locked Natsu. Flying away, Natsu, who had not yet landed, was immediately pulled by this force, and his neck took the initiative to send to the other party's hands. Snapped. Qinyang grabbed Natsu's neck and chuckled. Young Fire Dragon, your strength is too weak, don't worry about 1% of your adoptive father. Let go, let me go. Natsu grabbed Qinyang's wrist with a breathless expression on his face. Let go of Natsu. The Fire Dragon King's expression changed, and he said, I agree to your request, and I will join your giant dragon army. No matter who it is, dragons or humans, all have their own limitations because of their own cognition. Qinyang shook his head and threw Natsu aside. He was not interested in killing people, otherwise he would not have let Emperor Ling go. You little country dragon with short knowledge, you only realize your vulnerability until I beat you up. Qinyang stepped down from the Fire Dragon King. Fortunately, I have a trace of humanity in my heart recently, and I haven't become extremely cold-blooded because of my own strength. Otherwise, you would be dead based on your choice just now. The more power a person acquires, the easier it is to despise life. There are 2 ants blocking the road ahead. Will ordinary people care? It's not enough to step on it. For Qinyang, who has already controlled the 3 worlds, no matter how strong the Fire Dragon King is, it is also an existence that can be repressed. Hearing this, Ignil Zhongshan sighed. It got up from its prostrate posture, and said, I joined your dragon army, you save me, what do I need to help you with? Up to now, it can't resist, it can't beat it at all. Even in the face of the former black dragon Akunorokia, it was not so embarrassed. I want to build a new age of dragons. Qinyang said, there are not many giant dragons left in this world. Even if they are all resurrected, there are only about 10 dragons, but the number of giant dragons I want should be at least 10,000. 10,000 dragons. Fire Dragon King was taken aback. Even in the age of giant dragons 400 years ago, the scale of giant dragons was only this number. 10,000 is the minimum bottom line. Qinyang said. In the future, if there is a world with a slightly lower level, the giant dragon army will be sent directly, and the Wanlong invasion will be easily conquered. There is no need to do everything by yourself as it is now. Think about the powerful beings that invade other worlds in some fictional worlds. They are all behind-the-scenes bosses with a bunch of forces under their control. There is also a black hand behind the scenes. Qinyang has just started, and of course he has to learn from it. In this world, the Dragon Legion is the best choice. Even getting out the dragon army is more important than collecting mysterious power. After all, the mysterious power is not so urgent for Qinyang now, but it is the origin of the world and needs to be more concerned. Then, what exactly do you want me to do? Ignil said solemnly. Destroy the continent. Of course, it is to fight other worlds. Qinyang didn't tell the other party, but said, you all spent 0.3 effort, even using the Dragon Soul technique, just to train 5 Dragon Slayer wizards and kill a Kunorokia. Don't worry, so does the Black Dragon. I'm waiting for the target. He waved his hand and called out, summon Deathwing. Along with his voice, a black light suddenly shot up from Qinyang's chest, and then turned into a giant dragon. My name is Deathwing. I have seen Lord Qin Emperor. Deathwing flapped his wings and landed in the forest. Seeing this scene, Leon and the others suddenly went crazy, and their faces were covered in cold sweat. It's another dragon. Who is this guy named Qin Emperor? He thought frantically in his heart, but a flash of light flashed in his mind, and he suddenly ran over and knelt down on one knee. Lord Qin Emperor, I, Leon Bastia, are also willing to serve you. Chapter-601-expansion of the Dragon Legion. Lord Qin Emperor, I, Leon Bastia, are also willing to serve you. Emperor Ling had already taken off his mask, ran in front of Qinyang, knelt down on one knee, and spoke with a hint of fanaticism in his respect. Such a powerful human has subverted the imagination, especially when he heard the other side's Dragon era. If he doesn't surrender now, will he have a chance in the future? Surely. Thinking of this, Leon hurriedly looked at his subordinates who were still in a daze behind him. Come here too. Ah yes, Lord Leon. The red-haired woman named Shui Li, after being dumbfounded for a moment, ran over immediately and spoke respectfully. Shirley would like to work for you. At the sudden scene, not only Qinyang was stunned, but even the Fire Dragon King was stunned. Huh. Qinyang raised his eyebrows and said with a bit of playfulness, it's you, Emperor Zero. No no no. Leon was taken aback. How dare I be called an emperor? Only Qin Emperor is worthy of the word, emperor. From today onwards, my name will only be Leon. It's interesting. Qinyang smiled. Alive was because the other party didn't take the initiative to provoke him, and he didn't bother to eliminate the characters who didn't take the initiative to provoke him. Just a little warning. Like Pirate World, White Emperor, Fist Emperor, God, and Sword Emperor, these four were the first to provoke him, and then he was beaten to death. Even the Empress he met at the beginning didn't do anything to him. In the end, the Empress changed her title, and he had no reason to take action. You said, you serve me. Qinyang shook his head and said, do you know who I am? Ah. Leon was stunned for a moment, then said bravely, you are the Emperor of all ages, thousands of worlds, and one Emperor. That's just casual talk, it's out of the question now. Qinyang rolled his eyes, I am the Master of Dreams, the President of the Dark Guild of Dreams. Dark Guild. Leon's expression changed slightly. So, do you still want to join? Qinyang said jokingly. I can tell you directly, the council wants to tear me apart now. For Dream's hatred value, it is much stronger than other dark guilds. It won't even be long before the Dream is the enemy of the whole world, and all the regular trade unions will crusade against him. Hearing this, Leon laughed. The council. It's just a bunch of trash, not as good as Emperor Qin. You are the strongest I have ever seen, and even the 10 great magicians are far from comparable to you. Pause, he added, since you were merciful before and let me die, then whether it is a dark guild or a regular guild, I am willing to join. Qinyang was noncommittal. He pondered, this guy is now hugging his thighs because he heard the words of the Dragon Age, just now. Yes, since you want to join, I agree. Qinyang thought about it for a while and smiled, but it's just a peripheral member. When you have credit and achievements, you can become a full member. Between the words, he waved his hands and threw out 2 rings. The ring is made of unknown material, looks like wood, and has a pattern on it, like a mysterious fantasy creature. This is the emblem of the Dream member, you two keep it. After receiving the ring, Leon was overjoyed. Yes. Now, I'll give you the first task. Qinyang waved his hand and said, a large ship has docked, and many wizards have come. Go and stop them. By the way, take this with you. Saying that, Qinyang spread out his right hand and suddenly transformed into a long sword. The long sword has no scabbard, but it only appears in the hand, as if it is cutting the air. This sword is called Sheath Fu, and it can kill people without killing people. After my transformation, it can already be used by mortals. Qinyang chuckled and threw the long sword down. The sharp blade turned over and the blade fell down, easily piercing the ground, and finally left the hilt. Take it with you and fight the enemy. Yes. Leon quickly drew out his sword, carried Shui Li, and followed Qinyang's instructions to head towards the village. Seeing this, the Fire Dragon King couldn't help but say, that sword, even I feel extremely dangerous. Is it a magic weapon? You are not afraid that the kid will run away with something? In its view, a weapon that can make it perceive a threat must be a very powerful weapon. Qinyang actually felt relieved to leave it to others. Kill life to protect life, kill industry but not kill people. Qinyang couldn't help but laugh. That's the Zanpakudo, it can't kill people. Of course, it's the most lethal to a half-Dao dragon soul like you. Dare to be greedy for his weapons, unless the world collapses, it is impossible. Moreover, that weapon was not for Leon, but for another person. Leon just acted as a courier. Okay, the extra people have left, let's revive you first, or you will all dissipate. Qinyang glanced at Deathwing and said, resurrect it. Yes, Lord Qin Emperor. Deathwing nodded and roared immediately. The power of the dragon's soul suddenly differentiated into a trace, merged into the body of the Fire Dragon King, and nourished its soul. In just a short while, the body of the Fire Dragon King began to burn uncontrollably. As a fire dragon, its magic power was rapidly increasing, and within half a minute, it returned to its peak level. At the same time, the internal organs injured by Qinyang were repaired. Feeling the vitality, the Fire Dragon King was suddenly shocked. What kind of power is this? It can fill my dragon soul. Incredible, this is not magic, this is definitely not magic. Why is there such power in the world? It lived for an unknown number of years, and it was the first time I saw it. 990 used by Deathwing has a heart palpitation just by perceiving it. No, my power is tainted. Suddenly, the Fire Dragon King was stunned, and he clearly felt that his recondensed dragon soul had a dark aura. Deathwing is the dragon of the earth. It has fallen into a dragon of destruction. Using its power to restore your dragon soul, it will naturally be contaminated with the breath of the Black Dragon. By the way, it is the Black Dragon King, once. It is good to be able to resurrect, although the power is polluted, but whether it is good or bad, it is uncertain. The Fire Dragon King didn't struggle, this time he was sincerely grateful. Thank you for your strength. Is there really nothing I need to do? Not yet. You can stay in the Dragon Slayer, or you can choose to follow Deathwing. When I need you, I will naturally call you. I see, Agunal, the Fire Dragon, owe you my life. The Fire Dragon King said solemnly, whenever you need my strength, I can serve you at any time. Also, please don't hurt Natsu. After speaking, he turned into a red light and fell into the unconscious Natsu. Seeing this, Chinyong nodded with satisfaction. The Fire Dragon has also been resolved, and there are still 3 Dragon Slayer wizards left. Just as he was thinking, a demon's roar came. From under the ruins of the temple, Daliola's demon roared, broke the soil, and descended violently into the world. Roar. Chapter-601-620 Arc of Time. Daliola is back. The undead catastrophe, 10 years ago, did evil everywhere, and made all living beings in the north utterly devastated. Its combat power is very terrifying, and it can completely destroy a city in one day. Later, I met Ulu. At that time, the magic power was very young, but the magic power was very close to the Holy Ten. In order to save the 2 disciples, Ulu launched the Absolute Ice Clean, at the cost of his own life and sealed Daliola. In this way, Ulu was resurrected, and the soul was pulled from the ice seal. Losing this power, Daliola easily broke the seal. No Absolute Bingji is a magic that has been sealed for 10 years. Logically speaking, there should be only 1 breath left, breaking the seal and almost dying. How can it be like this now? Chinyong pondered for a while, and suddenly came to his senses. It turns out that it is my phoenix feather. The phoenix feather resurrected Ulu, and at the same time, Daliola, who was shrouded in the rainbow light, also regained her strength. Exactly, I need to study demons. Thinking of this, Chinyong, Vivi Isho, walked towards Daliola. His eyes stared at each other, and the huge pupil power instantly passed on. At this moment, when Daliola saw Chinyong approaching, he immediately threw a big fist and hit him hard. However, at the moment of punching, its will is instantly sealed, interfered, and controlled. Its fist stopped abruptly 3 or 5 centimeters above Chinyang's head. Sure enough, he is much stronger than Lullaby. Chinyong raised his eyebrows. To control Lullaby, Uchiha Itachi's kaleidoscope writing wheel is used, which is very easy to do. And this Daliola in front of him, facing Rinnegan, can resist for 1/3 of a second. You know, the difference in pupil power between the 2 is more than several times. Peeping a little deeper, Chinyong immediately showed a surprised look. Huan, what's going on? I actually felt a trace of the origin of the world from it. Fantasia said, similar to super magic, right? Creating demons, or demons of this intensity, is itself a kind of super magic. Super magic contains the origin of the world, and the demon life created by super magic can naturally also contain the origin. It makes some sense. Chinyong pondered, there is no origin in Lullaby, that is to say, not all demons have it. The demons who are also the Book of Jeff are also very different from each other, which can be said to be very different. Looks like I'll have to pay more attention in the future. Chinyong nodded, not absorbing this trace of the source for the time being, but walked to the ruins of the temple and reached out to grab it. Immediately, countless ruined stones were grabbed by invisible forces. The mother and daughter of Arusha, who were buried under the ruins, suddenly revealed their figures. It's just that the 2 women are not in good shape. Ulu was assassinated by a dagger, and the one who has died can no longer die. In order to protect her mother's body, Urusha was knocked unconscious by the collapsed rock in the cave, and her life was hanging by a thread. Leave it alone, Urusha will die immediately. Is this woman stupid? Qinyang shook his head. Even if the cave collapses, with her magic, she can easily protect herself and the corpse. Or, because of the huge blow, choose to die. No matter which one, anyway, Urusha's mood at that time must be very complicated, so the lower limit of IQ. Save you one more time, Qinyang shook his head helplessly. I finally found an indigenous member, it would be a pity to die. Thinking of this, he turned his hands and took out 2 phoenix feathers again. The resurrection of the deceased is the power of Ho King. Without considering the consumption, Ho King can resurrect hundreds of thousands of people at one time. Of course, these hundreds of thousands refer to mortals, ordinary humans. The more powerful the person, the greater the consumption. In the same way, the longer the person who died, the greater the consumption. Although this ability is very, very powerful, not everyone is resurrected. For example, in the novel world, if an immortal dies, then only with the power of King Ho, I am afraid that he will not be able to be resurrected. Of course, even if the mother and daughter in front of him died 100 times, he could still be resurrected. 2 phoenix feathers floated towards the corpse, hanging in the air, turning into a rainbow of lights, covering the 2 of them. After a while, the wounds of the 2 healed, their souls were regenerated, and their strength was restored, and everything was the same as before. Huh. Urusha's nose let out a low moan, and then slowly opened her eyes. Waking up together, there is also Ulu. Ulu, Urusha exclaimed, and then her face was full of sadness. We are all dead. Not dead. Suddenly, an ethereal voice sounded. I saved you too. Emperor Qin. Urusha's eyes widened, and then she reacted at once. Sir. Qinyang snorted softly. Hearing this, Urusha was stunned, then relieved, and said with a tender smile, Yes, Lord Qin Emperor. After speaking, she looked at her mother. Ulu was also looking at her. The mother and daughter stared at each other. After solving the misunderstanding, they both felt that they owed each other, but they did not know how to speak. Qinyang suddenly thought of his family. However, the ghost knows which world and plane the earth is in. If he wants to go back, there is little hope. However, he will not give up. He now has an incomparably long lifespan. Although he can't reach the million-year lifespan of a sea dragon, he will find the earth one day. Shaking his head, he sighed softly and said, You guys have to catch up and change the time. I didn't ask for anything in return for saving you. From now on, you are all full members of the dream, Ulu, and even you. Thank you, Lord Qin. Urusha knelt on her knees and kowtowed sincerely. Thank you for saving Ulu, for saving my mother. Hey, Qinyang smiled. How does it feel to be untied? Urusha was stunned, and then showed a rare, impure smile. It's easy. Feeling reborn. That's fine. In short, you repair the temple first and use your power. Yes, a trifle. Urusha got up, raised her right arm, and said softly, The Arc of Time Vientiane Rebirth. Boom boom boom. Earthquakes. The broken stones seemed to be going backwards in time. How the temple collapsed before, and how it was reborn at this moment, when the last gravel returned to the temple itself, a magnificent and mysterious building appeared in front of Qinyang's eyes again. Yes, your ability is very good. Qinyang nodded with satisfaction. Continue to develop magic. This magic, reaching a profound level, can reverse the time of the whole world. That said, he walked towards the temple. You guys, come with me. Urusha, bring Natsu with you. The invaders are about to arrive. I'll wait, just wait for the bed. Chapter 0613 The Way to the 7 Stars. The ruins of the temple that were smashed by Qinyang and the Fire Dragon King were finally restored by Urusha. Qinyang intends to use this place as the guild's stronghold. To be precise, the entire Devil Island, Gunna Island will become a dream site. Anyway, no one lives in this place. There is only a devil's village in the south, which is very suitable for use as a stronghold. At this moment, Yulusha and Ulu followed Qin Yang's footsteps and walked to the top floor of the temple. Along the way, the mother and daughter talked in a low voice. After the misunderstanding was resolved, the estrangement and hatred between the two disappeared. After all, they were mother and daughter, and they soon became as close as a family. Urusha briefly recounted her experiences over the years. From escaping from the institute, to misunderstanding mother, to joining the Dark Guild for Lost Magic, the heart of the devil. And so on, nothing to hide. After listening to these words, Ulu suddenly sighed. These years, you have suffered. It's all my mother's dereliction of duty, who believed in the institute at first. It's all over. Urusha shook his head. I have done many evil things over the years, but now that I think about it, I was blinded by hatred. The mother-daughter duo had another conversation and hadn't seen each other for 10 years. Naturally, they wanted to have a good exchange of feelings. Suddenly, Wulu remembered his resurrection and asked in a low voice, "Who is this Lord Qin Emperor?" Emperor Qin, she had never heard of this name before, and she did not expect to have the power to resurrect the dead. I don't know very well either. 170. Urusha said helplessly. A dozen days ago, a person calling himself a shadow demon suddenly broke into the council. She briefly described the dream thing. After listening to it, Ulu suddenly felt incredible. He didn't expect that there are such masters in the world. I have observed that the power used by the members of the dream, including Lord Qin himself, is not magic. Urusha recalled the elemental lord, probably only that elemental being, using power similar to ours. Ulu nodded and said, no matter what, he saved us, so of course we should be grateful. Between the words, several people have come to the top of the temple. Qinyang sat on the throne of the previous Emperor Zero, then looked at Urusha and said, in the future, this will be our guild. However, this place is too dilapidated and needs to be remodeled. These will be handed over to you. Yes, Lord Qin Emperor. Besides that, this is a certificate for a guild member. Saying that, Qinyang flicked his fingers and shot 2 rings, which landed in front of the 2 of them. These 2 rings are similar to the ones given to Leon before, but they are a little higher, and the color of the ring face is purple. Yulusha. Yes, MBU. Is there a drop of the moon going on here for the past 3 years? G. Moon drops is a kind of ritual. Gecko collected in a special magic circle will be illuminated at the target through the ritual, which can nullify all magic. However, because of this, now a magical barrier is formed over the island, which makes it difficult to see at night. The moon turned purple. That's right. Emperor Zero. No, Leon wants to use the drop of the moon to dissolve the seal of Daliola, and then rely on his own strength to defeat it. Naive thought. At the beginning, Ulu, whose combat power was infinitely close to the Holy Ten, failed to please, and Leon's strength was far behind. As for why the other party did this, Qinyang also knew very well. Because Leon Bastia was one of the 2 disciples that Ulu accepted at the beginning. The master died because of Daliola, and Leon wanted to prove that he surpassed the master, or to avenge the master. Anyway, he just foolishly wanted to unlock the seal and kill the evil demon with his own hands. To this end, he spent countless hours finding and transporting Daliola to this island, and then spent another 3 years trying to break the seal with the power of the moon drop. The formation of the moon drop should still be there. The moon will come out soon, so you can try it. Qinyang knew that he was a little interested in the drop of the moon, of course, only a little. You go and prepare. However, before that, the uninvited guests are coming. Urutia, Ulu, you 2, go and clean up the intruders. Speaking of which, Uru, among the enemies who came this time, there is one of your disciples. Hearing this, the mother and daughter looked at each other and nodded immediately, yes. After the 2 left, only Qinyang and Natsu were left in the hall. For Natsu, Qinyang ignored him for the time being, and he called in his heart. Fantasy. What's the matter? I have already felt that the power of the 6-star illusory god has reached a limit. Qinyang said calmly. Since the illusion world has merged with the world of the god of death, the illusion world has strengthened a lot, and as the illusion world has grown, my own strength has also grown. Until recently, this growth has stagnated. This is not an illusion. There is a problem in the world, but my star rating restricts me and makes my strength stagnate. Quote. Star restrictions. It seems that every phantom body will encounter a 5-star restriction, and now, the main body illusory god, also encounters a 6-star restriction. Remember in the pirate world, you said that the phantom body can evolve unlimitedly and become stronger. At the end, Qinyang asked, what's going on here? It's not very clear, but it can probably be deduced. Fantasy Jean said sternly, do you remember how the phantom body was upgraded to star level in the past? Of course. A 0-star phantom has evolved to a 6-star phantom. Every time a star is upgraded, one phantom is required to reach a 5-star level. You mean, it's the same as before? Qinyang raised his eyebrows, and suddenly had a guess. Aizen's phantom body is already 6-star, but it hasn't changed. The explanation is not enough. Fantasy Jean said, it takes about 3 6-star phantom bodies to reach the 7-star level. At present, there are many 5-star phantoms, but there is only one 6-star phantom, Aizen Sosuke. It's not easy to break the star restrictions. Qinyang pondered for a moment. If nothing else happens, the Night King who stays in the world of death will reach 6 stars sooner or later. In other words, there is still one less. The Lord of the Elements. Fantasy Jean said, this is the most promising. For this, you can study the magic of this world more. Pause, it said again, besides, you feel it faintly, right? The power of each world is not the same, and it needs a suitable illusion to break the star restrictions. You're right. Qinyang leaned on the throne and meditated in his heart. His current vision is no longer limited to a certain world. Like in the pirate world, he has been staring at the mysterious power. Among the countless worlds, Qinyang's current strength is nothing at all. If he encounters the world of novels, or even the world of science fiction, or some worlds in the world of animation that are against the sky, it will be very difficult. Difficult to do. For example, Dragon Ball, going to Dragon Ball with his current strength, although those Super Saiyans may not be able to do anything to him, but it is also very troublesome to deal with those monsters who physically cross the universe. And there are many similar worlds. Another example is the world of Shenxia, the world of prehistoric wilderness, the Great Emperor, the Immortal Emperor, the Sun God, the Saint, the Fifth Step on the Sky, etc. Each one is more terrifying than the other. Sure enough, we still have to upgrade the star of the main body. 6-star is just the beginning. In order to improve the main body, we must let some phantoms break the star restrictions. After thinking for a while, Qinyang thought about his general goals for the next period of time. First, upgrade the Lord of Elements to 5-star level, and then find a way to break through the star level restriction. Secondly, collect super magic, collect the origin of the world, and prepare to integrate this world. Finally, form a giant dragon army as a force to attack other worlds in the future. Then, when this place is cleaned up, it's time to do something. Qinyang's eyes flashed, and he immediately had a good idea. Chapter-601-620 Wizard. Devil's Island, Karna Island. A boat was docked on the shore with 6 or 7 people on board. The captain was a fisherman. After letting the crew off the boat, he couldn't wait to transfer away. Come back and find your own way. This is a cursed island, you ask for your own blessings. With such a shout, the middle-aged uncle paddled hard and fled quickly. The cursed island is really eerie. Lucy shuddered. It was already evening, and the sun was gradually setting on the sea level. It would be dark before it was dark. Urza said coldly, Gray, are you sure that Natsu was caught in this kind of place? I won't hear it wrong. That strange ninja, before I passed out, was talking about Karna Island. Oh, don't waste time. The man will knock on the door with dignity. Elfman with white hair shouted and walked in the front. Natsu, Hubby the blue cat quickly followed. Wait for me, Elfman. Come on. Don't worry, you'll be fine. The person who spoke, with a stubble on his chin, was Gildas. Hearing this, the group quickly walked towards the island. However, at this moment, the sound of footsteps came, and I saw a man and a woman walking gradually ahead. Is that the invaders that Lord Chindi said about you? Leon snorted coldly and said, this is a dreamland, and it's too late to get out now. Lord Leon is right. Shirley flipped her hair on the temples, with a smile on the corner of her mouth. One step forward, I can't guarantee what will happen. Hearing this, Urza was too lazy to talk nonsense, so she moved forward and rushed up. Get out of the way. Wait. Gray shouted, startled, you or Leon? Hearing this, Leon couldn't help being stunned. Gray Falpasta, a disciple of the ice wizard Ulu, is also a junior of Leon Bastia. However, this kind of surprise was only a moment, and Leon snorted coldly. I advise you to leave quickly, this is not a place you can come. What are you doing? When did you become a dreamer? Gray said in disbelief. He didn't expect to meet his former senior brother. This would be the case. I don't care who you are. Hand over Natsu. At this moment, Urza had already shot in anger, and she rushed forward, her whole body glowing with white light. Transformation black feather armor. Her armor changed, black armor, black one-handed sword, and her long hair was tied into a single ponytail. The wings behind the armor resemble bat wings and provide flight power. Carrying the black long sword, Urza approached Leon at once, and the next moment, she slashed with a merciless sword. This is an outfit that increases the destructive power of one hit, and focuses more on attack power. However, in the face of this sword, Leon was not in a hurry and slashed with the same sword. Whoosh! The sword shadow flickered, and the expected sound of sword collision did not sound. Urza's eyes widened, only to see that the blade in Leon's hand actually penetrated her long sword and cut her in the middle at once. With a thud, Urza fell to the ground, supporting her with one hand, her face pale. The moment she was slashed, she thought she was going to be cut in the middle, but she didn't. Instead, a message came over. This information is telling her what kind of weapon this is, how to drive and use it, and even its nature and characteristics are extremely detailed. Why? Urza was stunned. Ha ha ha, Leon laughed loudly. The weapon given by Lord Qin Emperor is indeed a divine weapon. Ignore physical defenses and directly kill wounded spirits. Don't get carried away. In an instant, Gildas, who was at the back, suddenly got close to Leon's side, and then punched out, destroy the evil and show the righteous one day. Boom. The huge magic power was concentrated on one punch, and the power of the spiral smashed Leon into the air in an instant. He was like a kite with a broken string, swish and flew high into the sky. Lord Leon. Shirley was shocked, and then said angrily, doll attack rock doll. The magic circle under his feet opened, and then the ground rolled, and a huge rock puppet quickly rose from the ground. Men's boxing. Elfman snorted, did not use magic at all, just concentrated the magic on the right fist, and hit it with one blow. Boom. In an instant, the rock puppet shattered and was shattered by a single blow. One of the rubble even hit Shui Li's head, knocking her unconscious. It's solved, Elfman shouted, waving his fists, vulnerable. Seeing this, Hubby stepped up immediately. Gray hesitated for a moment, and temporarily put down Leon's question and walked up. Are you all right? Gildas glanced at Urza. No, it's fine. Urza clutched her stomach and slowly got up. She looked up at the sky and saw a long sword flying down quickly, just above her head. With a snap, she took the long sword easily. This weapon is very strange. Gildas said solemnly. It can actually defend countless physical defenses. You were hit just now. Although it looks fine, don't take it lightly. Urza answered absent-mindedly, but her eyes were a little complicated. This sword is called Scabbard, and it's a sword that can't kill anyone. You know. It told me. Shaking her head, Urza dispelled her unnecessary thoughts and said immediately, "Let's go, it's important to save Natsu first." The group continued to go deeper and searched the island. In order to avoid being defeated one by one, several people chose to form a group going. Suddenly, deep in the forest ahead, an extremely cold breath came. The touch that seemed to freeze human blood instantly enveloped the forest. Gildas's expression changed, and he immediately stopped everyone, saying, "Be careful, the real master is here." This magic power. Urza was shocked. Holy 10. It's so cold. Hubby shivered, almost frozen into a dead cat. Elfman couldn't help shivering. Only Gray didn't have any influence, but his expression became extremely shaken. He stared straight ahead, looking extremely shocked. This magic power, could it be? Da-da. The sound of footsteps came, and it was the light sound of the shoe stepping on the ice. In the darkness, I saw a graceful woman slowly appearing. She emerged from the darkness, exposed to starlight. "Long time no see, Gray." The woman put her hands on her hips with a gentle smile on her lips. "Did you practice well during my absence?" "How is it possible?" Gray paled. Ulu. Ulu. That master." The rest of the people were shocked. Top of the temple. Qinyang sat upright, holding a glass of wine from somewhere in his hand, savoring it quietly. He is it time for the master and the apprentice to meet now." With a chuckle, He raised his head and saw Arusha walking in. "What? Not going to help your mother?" Qinyang raised his eyebrows. "I'm not going to disturb them." Arusha, like a water snake, suddenly approached, half close to Qinyang, whispering in his ear, "Lord Qin Emperor Tilda." "Well said, it's disgusting." Qinyang sneered inwardly, but his expression remained the same. The mere beauty is useless to him at all. It's not that he doesn't like women, it's just that he has seen a lot and has enough concentration. What's the matter? Chapter-601-5 vs Ice. What's the matter? Qinyang spoke calmly. One hand on his shoulder, the other hand stroking his palm, the rosy lips were even more arrogantly close to the ear, exhaling like a blue, and whispering softly. "I'm curious, what kind of power are you using instead of magic? Can I learn it?" "That's right, I want to get stronger." Qinyang knew it and said, "I can't learn it. It's enough for you to practice your magic. The lost magic, the Arc of Time, is cultivated to the deepest depths. The Arc of Time's attack methods are too simple." Probably seeing that Emperor Qin didn't take this trick, she didn't continue to tempt her, but said helplessly, "It can't work on life, so the means against the enemy are limited." "That means you can't cultivate at home." Qinyang secretly said in his heart that the magic of manipulating time, cultivated to the pinnacle, can reverse the time of the whole world, or going. "I remember that in the original book, Arusha used it once, and then she became an old woman in exchange for going back 1 minute in time. With that in mind, Arc of Time seems to have too many side effects and is not very suitable for combat." Thinking of this, Qinyang suddenly turned his head and stared at the other party. He stretched out his hand to squeeze the other party's chin and said playfully, "You really want to become stronger?" Seeing this, Arusha blushed. She took the initiative to seduce others. "Yes, I want to become stronger, Lord Qin, what should I do?" Speaking of this, Arusha said again with a bit of shame, "Lord Qin Emperor is kind to me, if you want I will." Qinyang glanced at her and smiled. Thanksgiving is the furthest distance from love. With that, he slowly got up and walked out of the hall. "Of course, if you want to get stronger, that's easy. Come with me." Hearing this, Arusha couldn't help but be stunned. She was still very confident in her body, with her front and back up, but Qinyang obviously abandoned it. "No, it doesn't seem to be disinterest, but disdain." Arusha's eyes flashed, and she secretly said, I don't believe you don't like it. Emperor Qin, it's very challenging. Thinking so, she quickly followed. Lord Qin Emperor, please wait for me. Not to mention that Yulusha seduced Qinyang. On the other hand, Ulu intercepted Ursha and her party. You were really Ulu? Gray stepped closer, his face full of disbelief. No, you are already dead. Who are you? You pretend to be Ulu. I'm the Ulu you know. I haven't seen you for 10 years, and you've grown up. The first time I saw you, you knew you were Gray. Ulu was obviously very happy, seeing that her apprentice was alive, proving that the magic she used in giving up her life at that time was not in vain. I was just resurrected and was rescued by Lord Qin. Qin Emperor. Sir. Ursha and the others looked at each other in dismay, and Gildas couldn't help but say, are you Ulu, let alone, but you are here to stop us? Are you also a dreamer? Hearing this, Ulu looked up at Gildas. I know you, Gildas, the S-rank wizard of fairy tale. Your name has been spread to the north 10 years ago. As for the dream you said this. She raised her hand and turned the back of her hand towards the crowd. On the middle finger, there is a ring, and the ring face of the ring is indeed a dream emblem. Gray, come back. Gildas immediately shouted. This is not the Ulu you know, she is now a member of Dream. Without his reminder, Gray has also fallen into a sluggishness, and he shouted unacceptably, why? Why join the Dark Guild? Because Lord Qin Emperor saved me. Ulu said frankly, of course, if she only saved her, she would not join like this. The real reason was that Emperor Qin let her meet her daughter and saved her, which made her willing to join Dream. She owes her daughter too much. Anyway, you can't continue to approach here. Ulu shook his head and said, let's go, you guys, I don't want to do anything to you. Gray, go back. Hearing this, several people took a deep breath and suddenly felt troubled. Gray gritted his teeth and said, no, Master, I can't go. I won't back down until Natsu is rescued. 10 years later, I am very happy to meet again, but if Master doesn't back down, I'll have to do it. He stretched his arms forward, fists touching. Suddenly, the cold air filled the air, and the magic of ice swept out. Ice-shaped fishing nets. Kakaka. The sound of freezing continued to sound, turned into a large net, and suddenly shrouded Ulu. It seems that you are not abandoned, the speed of modeling has become faster, and the level of magic has also risen. Ulu smiled and said, then, I'll teach you another lesson. In the words, her movements are exactly the same. The huge magic power freezes the 4 directions, and the natural leakage power freezes the surrounding forest. Ice make shield. Boom. Suddenly, a city wall with a height of several hundred meters suddenly rose. This ice wall is dozens of meters high and 3 to 5 meters thick, as if blocking the great wall of thousands of troops, blocking the demon tail. Gray's ice net hit the city wall and shattered directly. You give up, don't make unnecessary sacrifices. Lord Qin Emperor should not do anything to Natsu. Ulu shouted from the wall. However, the next moment, Gildas stepped in, and under one step, the magic radiated outward. Boom. In an instant, the entire wall shattered instantly, turning into pieces of cubes, scattered all over the place. You go over, I'll restrain her. Gildas said with a solemn expression. Gray, please rest assured, I won't kill her, she is your master. Go and save Natsu. Hearing this, Urza and the others immediately obeyed, bypassing Ulu and heading towards the temple. After hesitating for a moment, Gray gritted his teeth and followed. In this regard, Ulu did not stop. Won't you kill me? Actually, it's okay if you can kill me. I've already died twice. This time I can sleep forever. Maybe it's good. Although I don't know why you should obey Dream's orders, they are a group of extremely dangerous guys and walkers in the dark. They will cause huge damage to the world 1.6. Gildas stepped forward, and the whole person suddenly rushed over. So, wake up. This punch is majestic, shrouded in magic, and visible to the naked eye. Hearing this, Ulu did not dodge or evade, but only whispered in his mouth. Wall. Boom. Without any modeling gestures, just a low voice, the ice element seemed to obey the queen's order, and in an instant, in front of him, a city wall of ice rose. However, that didn't stop Kildeth's punch. With a loud bang, the ice wall shattered into cubes. However, at the moment when the wall was broken, the ice blades continued to appear all over Ulu's body. Infinite Blade Leaf. In the cold wind, hundreds of ice blades fluttered in the sky, slashing away one after another. Your smashing magic can't keep up with my ice-making speed. Sure enough, you can't kill me. Chapter-601-620 version of Pickup Hand. As early as 10 years ago, Ulu already possessed the magic power that was infinitely close to the Holy Ten. The daughter born at a young age, Urusha, had a huge magic power as soon as she was born, which shows that her bloodline is excellent. Now, although 10 years have been abandoned, but being resurrected by Qin Yang's phoenix feather, the magic power has been greatly improved, and it has completely reached the level of the Holy Ten. Facing Gildas at this moment, Ulu has no intention of making a full shot, as long as it is enough to stop the opponent from going. As for Urza and the others, there are naturally others blocking it. Infinite Blade Leaf. In the soft voice, the ice blades condensed around Ulu suddenly poured away like a torrential rain. Dozens or hundreds of ice blades at a time. After the lacing, there will be new blades condensed immediately, endless. This sky-filled ice blade fell on Kildeth's body, but it failed to break the opponent, but at the moment of approach, it shattered violently and turned into ice crystals. Are you saying my magic is shatter? Gildas chuckled twice. No, my magic can still be decomposed. From the structural level of matter. Boom. 15. He stepped out, and the ground cracked. In an instant, starting from the place where his right foot stepped, this shattering magic power spread to Ulu's feet in an instant. Ulu's eyes narrowed slightly, and he secretly said in his heart, the tricky guy, he can decompose my ice blade from the level of atomic structure, that is to say, no matter what kind of things I make, I can't help him. There was no time to think about countermeasures, and at the moment when the cracks in the ground spread to her feet, Ulu jumped up suddenly, and the huge magic power supported her soaring into the sky. Shot balsam. She drank lightly, and waved her hand to shoot ice bombs all over the sky. As if dozens of machine guns fired, in an instant, tens of thousands of ice bullets condensed in the sky, turned into a rain of bullets, and shrouded Kildeth away. Seeing this, Kildeth couldn't help but his face darkened. Troublesome opponent. As expected of a great wizard who has reached the 10th level of magic power, this ice-making speed is unbelievable. For the first time, he saw that this modeling speed was faster than his smashing magic. Looks like a war of attrition. Temple ruins, top floor. This is a platform. The platform is not big, only a few hundred square meters. In the center of the platform, there is a magic circle. The purple magic pattern is not complicated. It is a relatively common magic circle that Qin Yang has seen. Is this the magic circle of moondrops? Qin Yang looked at it for a while. Yes, there were originally some religious groups who would conduct worship rituals to guide gecko to form moon droplets. The purple gecko would pass through the temple and illuminate the ice seal of the underground cave, melting the seal. Urusha gave a brief explanation and said, Master Qin Emperor wants to activate this magic circle. However, it requires a worship ceremony of more than 10 people, and now. Square root and GT, Q. Before the temple collapsed, Leon's subordinates, that is, those who performed the ceremony, were buried, and 9 out of 10 were dead. Why, although she can restore the temple, it can't work on life. Tilda. It's okay. I'm enough alone. Qin Yang waved his hand and took 2 steps closer. Vivi squatted down and placed one hand on the magic circle. The next moment, his eyes narrowed, and the magic circle suddenly shone with purple light. Activated. Urusha was startled. You are not. Although I don't use the power of magic, I didn't say it, I won't. Qinyang chuckled and maintained the magic circle. Although he does not know magic, he has copied a lot and can understand a little bit. With the ability of illusion representation, this kind of thing is easy to do. For example, if he intends, his illusion can be embodied, which can completely imitate Ulu's ice modeling magic. At this time, the moon had risen, and after the magic circle was activated, the white gecko was projected down, and finally turned purple, passed through the temple, and landed in the depths of the underground cave. Lord Qin Emperor, now that Daliola has broken the seal, what's the point of this ceremony? Urusha asked curiously. She didn't understand what Qinyang was doing at all. The drop of the moon can nullify all magic. Qinyang analyzed the operation rules of the magic circle attentively, and said at the same time, "Aren't you going to become stronger?" Hearing this, Urusha was startled. Could it be? She vaguely guessed that if Qinyang did what she thought, it would be a little incredible. The two were silent, and Qinyang watched the magic circle seriously. With the experience of transcribing, magic spirit power, analyzing, drop of the moon, at this moment is a familiar path. 10 minutes later, Qinyang basically completed the analysis. The purple light of the magic circle gradually faded, and a mysterious rune was taking shape in Qinyang's palm. But at this moment, there was a bang, and at the entrance, 2 men, 2 women and a cat rushed in. Lucy, Urza, Gray, Elfman, and Happy are the people from Fairy Tale. As soon as he appeared, Gray shouted, "I found it. Hand over Natsu." His magic power surged, and the cold air overflowed. Ice make tomahawk. Boom. A huge ice battle axe suddenly appeared and slashed towards Qinyang. He. Seeing this, Qinyang got up calmly, and while turning around, his right palm slowly raised. Drops of the moon. With a whisper, the battle axe landed in Qinyang's palm. However, before touching it, a special purple light waved outwards. The next second, with a bang, the ice battle axe was instantly disintegrated and dissipated into magic particles. What? Gray's expression changed. He didn't know what kind of ability it was. He could only see his attack hit him, and when he got close to the opponent, it suddenly melted and turned into a plume of blue smoke, which slowly dissipated. Sure enough, another use of the mysterious rune. Qinyang couldn't help but look at the moon drop rune in his palm. Unfortunately, this power can only be used under Gecko, and each time it is used, it takes 5 seconds to recharge. To recharge, is to absorb Gecko. Urusha on the side was stunned, as expected. Here you are. Qinyang took her small hand and pressed it with one palm. Urusha only felt a force coming, and then a rune appeared in his palm. The rune was not a magic circle, but it was very similar to a magic circle. Give me. Urusha was stunned. Aren't you going to get stronger? Qinyang said calmly, the matter of a mysterious rune is simple and easy. However, the flaws are also very big. The power of the moon drop rune is limited, and for powerful magic, it cannot be erased in an instant. In addition, the physical attack cannot be blocked, and each time it is used, the time interval is 5 seconds. A weakened version of pick-up hand. Qinyang was secretly happy. At this moment, Ursha, who witnessed all this, said solemnly, "You are Emperor Qin." Hearing this, Qinyang raised his eyebrows and turned to look. He had a faint smile on his face, and his whole person exuded a dusty temperament. Urza, how are your eyes recovering? Hearing this, Urza's pupils shrank suddenly. It's you. Chapter-601-620 You unlucky girl. It's you. A flash of shock flashed in Urza's eyes. In fact, she had discovered the anomaly a few days earlier. Since she was thrown into the hotel by Deathwing that night and woke up, she has faintly discovered the abnormality in her right eye. It's just that because he was naked and his mind fluctuated too much, he didn't find it in time. After that, with the recovery of magic power and magic, she has completely understood that her right eye has recovered unconsciously. When she was young, her right eye was blinded by the black magic order because of an escape operation. Later, she joined Fairy Tale, and a kind old woman used the power of the potion to heal her. Healed right eye is called a prosthetic eye, which is the same as a normal eye and can see light, but this prosthetic eye is still a product of magic and cannot be compared with the real eye. Therefore, Elsa can clearly know that her right eye is a prosthetic eye, which is similar to the prosthetic limb of the disabled. Although it has general functions, it is fake. However, this feeling has disappeared recently. At first, I thought it was an illusion, and I didn't pay much attention to it after I got used to it, but now I heard what Emperor Qin said, and I suddenly realized that this was not a natural change, but someone moved her hands and feet to completely restore her eyes. You cured. Urza's tone fluctuated a bit. Why? I'm happy. Is there a problem? Qinyang stepped closer and walked towards Urza. At that time, Deathwing copied your magic. After I know about it, I will heal your right eye by the way. I'm happy. Doubt flashed in Urza's beautiful eyes. Self-proclaimed, the most vicious and evil in history, would he do such a thing? Watching Qinyang approaching step by step, Urza didn't know whether to attack. Compared to her mood, the rest of the people were much simpler, all looking at each other with hostility. Don't be fooled by him. Gray shouted loudly. This guy is a dream leader, the boss of the Dark Guild. Between the words, he launched an attack again, Ice Make Lancer. Whizzing. Several ice spears suddenly shot at Qinyang. In this regard, Qin originally ignored it, completely ignored it, and continued to approach. At this moment, a charming smile came, and the next moment, the same ice spears were shot out one after another. Bang bang bang. The ice spears of the two sides collided with each other, and they were all annihilated. Gray looked startled, and immediately looked behind Qinyang. I saw Yulusha Vivi Isho, and said, you must not be rude to Lord Qin. However, your ice modeling magic has not yet been cultivated at home, so don't call yourself a disciple of Ulu in the future, it is too weak. Saying that, she put her hands in a modeling gesture and drank in a low voice, Let's make rose garden. Boom. In an instant, countless thorns and roses suddenly bloomed. In the ice garden, lavender ice roses were born, covering the entire platform at once. Gray, Elfman, Lucy, and Harpy, all three and one cat were attacked, and they were all knocked into the air before they could even react. Seeing this, Elsa suddenly came back to her senses and stared at Qinyang sharply, hand over Natsu. Finished speaking, her body was suddenly stabbed, approaching Qinyang, and she was cut off with a sword. However, her full blow came to an abrupt end. Qinyang raised a finger and blocked Sheath Fu's slash. Urza's breath stagnated, her face shocked. This is a sword that ignores physical defense, and has blessed her with magic power, but was blocked by a finger. Qinyang chuckled and said, This is the sword I gave you, use my sword to cut me, are you stupid? Your sword. Elsa's expression changed, and she remembered that at that time, Leon seemed to have said that the divine weapon bestowed by Lord Qin. This sword is called Sheath Fu. It is a Zanpakuto. It is too sharp to forge a scabbard that can accommodate it. Qinyang said calmly, however, for the convenience of non-spiritual humans, I modded it to make it less sharp while still taking the magic. Quote. Pause, he said again, how is it compared to your demon knife, Hongying? Hearing this, Urza froze in her heart. The demon knife Hongying, this is one of her outfits. How do you know? Of course I know, since you were born, I have known everything about you. Qinyang talked eloquently, your mother abandoned you, you were caught by the black magic sect, imprisoned in the Tower of Paradise, made a group of friends, and met a kind old man. In order to escape, someone planned action. After the failure, you stood up, you were regarded as the mastermind, and you were beaten in the right eye. Quote. Hearing this, Elsa's delicate body trembled, and she looked at Qinyang in disbelief. Later, you succeeded, but only you escaped. You joined Fairy Tale and the kind old man died to save you. Qinyang said softly, During this period of time, that companion named Gerald gave you a surname, and you changed from Ursha to Ursha Shukalite. Urza suddenly recalled her childhood, and her heart fluctuated more and more violently. Now, let me tell you, your name is not Arusa Shukalet. Chinyang stared at him and said seriously, your real name is Elsa Bersarian. Your surname was inherited from your mother should now be called Faye, despair of lust, she was once the queen. The great wizard of genius. When the last word fell, Urza held her sheathed hand, already trembling and difficult to grasp. The blade slipped, and with a bang, Cha fell to the ground. Urza Bersarian. She murmured absent-mindedly, hearing the news from her mother for the first time. Since she can remember, she has not known the existence of her father and mother. She feels that she has come out of a stone, and she suffered that kind of torture in her childhood. Behind the Queen of Fairies is her fragile and strong armor. She built it to protect her line of defense. But Qin Yang's words easily defeated her. In his eyes, tears blurred his eyes. It turned out that she also has a mother. Her name is Bersalian, although that mother, when she was young, easily abandoned her. As a biological mother, such a woman is scum and does not deserve to be a mother. But at this moment, Urza couldn't help but feel a joy. She suddenly raised her head and looked at Qin Yang. Her voice contained mixed emotions. Tell me, where is my mother? You want to know? Qin Yang blinked. I think it's better not to tell you. Tell you, you'll hit harder. No, tell me, please, no matter what kind of person she is. I want to see her, I want to ask her why. Why abandon you? Qin Yang stretched out a finger and gently wiped the unfortunate child's tears. If you have a chance, you can ask her yourself. However, are you still going to shoot at me now? Hearing this suddenly, Urza suddenly remembered the purpose of this time. Natsu. However, now, she is confused again. It is not right to take action, and it is even more wrong not to take action. Seeing her tangled expression, Qin Yang couldn't help laughing. With a wave of his hand, he tore apart the space and threw the unconscious Natsu out. I didn't do anything to him, you can rest assured. His laughter faded, and he turned to say seriously, I talked a lot just now. I'm asking you now, you unlucky girl, are you interested in joining Dream? Chapter 0618_just a pain. Third update tilde recently someone said that the protagonist Madam, no, in fact, the protagonist has always been very kind, and it is your illusion to start killing in the world of pirates. That is not the protagonist, that is controlled by an evil force. The above is a mouthful. Seriously, the protagonist is invincible in fairy tale, and the biggest goal at this stage is to upgrade to a 7-star level, so that he can go to a more advanced world. During this process, he had no opponents, and of course he was in a playful mentality. To kill is too addicted to power. I guess it's too dark. You definitely don't like it. Too virgin. You don't like it either, so take it and be a big boss with a dream. Now, you unlucky girl, are you interested in joining the fantasy? Hearing Qin Yang's words, Urza couldn't help but be startled. She glanced at Natsu and saw that he was not injured before standing up to answer. No, you are the Dark Guild, I am the Wizard of Fairy Tale, I will not join you. Pause, she said again, although I don't know what your purpose is for kidnapping Natsu, I will stop you anytime. Also, thank you for telling me, my real name. For dreams, no, to be precise, for Qin Yang, Urza's senses are more complicated. Boss and president of the Dark Guild. Logically speaking, she should be hostile to the other party. But what this man did made it difficult for her to make up her mind. Saying that the other party is evil, but it seems to be different from other Dark 173 guilds. He. Qin Yang smiled and was not surprised. If he agreed to join, it would be unexpected. However, his goal has been achieved, defeating Urza's self-protection, and imprinting the name of Emperor Qin deeply in the other party's heart. Thinking of this, he immediately stretched out his hand and slammed it in front of Urza. Sleeping palm. Boom. A heavy spiritual pressure suddenly invaded Urza's consciousness, making her eyelids heavy, and she was quickly selected into a coma. With a thud, she fell to the ground. Get it done. Qinyang reached out and grabbed Natsu on the ground. Then, a mysterious force swept across the opponent. Soon, a mysterious rune has been engraved on the palm. And in this process, Natsu never woke up. It's another rune of dragon-slaying magic, 2 of which have been collected. Qinyang nodded with satisfaction, and then said loudly, Yulusha, stop playing, solve them all. Urusha, who was fighting 1 against 3, immediately smiled and said, yes, Lord Qin Emperor. Lucy, Gray, and Elfman, the 3 together are not her enemies. Especially after obtaining the Moondrop rune, the 3 of them were quickly defeated. In just a short while, the purple ice roses all around dissipated, and the 3 fairy tail had been knocked to the ground. Only Harpy, the blue cat, flew in midair with an anxious look on his face. Lucy, quote, stupid cat, go and save Natsu. Lucy shouted tiredly. Shividi raised her eyes and saw Qinyang walking towards him, and was immediately startled. You dare to chase here with 2 or 3 kittens. It seems that you didn't notify Makarov, otherwise, he would never let you act. A blonde. Now she looked delicate and weak, but her eyes were very wrong, both fear and anger. Don't be afraid, it's just a pain. Pain. Lucy suddenly thought of the bad picture, and her face turned pale. Qinyang also found that the context was wrong, but he didn't bother to explain, so he reached out and pressed the opponent's head, and the power of transcribing magic immediately enveloped the opponent. Ah! Lucy couldn't help screaming, and then she came to her senses. Is that what she meant by pain? In just a short while, her magic power was gone, the magic disappeared, and the whole fell into a coma. At the same time, Qinyang had another rune in his hand. Protoss magic, similar to summoning, use the key gate of opening to summon Protoss to fight. This magic turned into a rune and lay quietly in Qinyang's palm. Lucy, Gray yelled, looking angry. You've only known each other for a day or 2. Is it necessary to care so much? Qinyang glanced at him, grabbed it from the air, and immediately sucked the other party over. Bastard! Are you showing no mercy to women? Gray shouted through gritted teeth. I don't have the boring principle of, don't shoot women. If an enemy is to kill a fairy, I won't be soft-hearted. Qinyang pouted, however, you are not enemies, you are just materials. After using it, I will save your life, and I should be grateful for my kindness. With that said, the mysterious force immediately copied the opponent's magic. Amidst the screams, Gray only listened to Qinyang and continued. Relax, I will let you go back, including the Natsu you want to save. Next time you come, remember to bring your entire guild. No, it's better to bring Feo. All the most powerful mages are called, so I will be happier. Quote. In Gray's eyes, Qinyang's words were like the whispers of a demon, and he fell into a coma before he finished listening. Condensing the mysterious rune of ice modeling magic, Qinyang threw him aside and grabbed Elfman, who couldn't move. I've read your receiving magic many times, you're welcome. Another cry of pain, and one more mysterious rune. Elfman then fell into a coma. And you, kitten. Qinyang, Isho, grabbed hubby from the air. The kitten hurriedly wanted to dodge, but was shocked to find that the space seemed to be fixed and it was difficult to move. After a while, hubby also fell into a coma, and Qinyang added a mysterious rune of wing magic. 5 mysterious runes were quietly engraved on Qinyang's palm, including Fire Dragon Slayer magic, Star Spirit magic, Receiving magic, Ice modeling magic, and Wing magic. That's right, 5 runes add up to about 12 magic jades. Qinyang nodded with satisfaction. He had seen the magic of these people many times, and now he transcribes it at one time, which is simple and easy. Because of the trouble in the identity of Uchiha Itachi, the magic of all members of Fairy Tail has basically been read several times, and most of them have been analyzed. I will find a time later to transcribe the magic of the rest of the fairy tale members. Lord Qin Emperor. At this moment, Urusha came over. How should these people be dealt with? She glanced at the rune in Qin Yang's hand and didn't ask any further questions. As a smart woman, she knows what she can say and what she can't. Throw it outside. No, you find a boat and throw it to the nearest city port. Qin Yang said, by the way, you go to the Devil's Heart, tell your guild leader, and say, the goblin's biggest secret is in my hands. Hearing this, Yulusha Vivi was startled, and then smiled. No, Lord Qin Emperor, now that person is no longer my president, you are. Saying that, she quickly followed the instructions and began to act. Qin Yang shook his head. The heart of the devil, Hades, this person is a great wizard of the pseudo-abyss. Chapter-619-4-star Demon King. The heart of the devil, this is one of the 3 major dark guilds. The chairman is Hades, a powerful magician of the pseudo-abyss, and at the same time, he is also one of the 4 elders who founded Fairy Tale. The 2nd generation president of Fairy Tale, he created the super magic, Fairy Heart. Of course, no matter how powerful it is still in the category of humans and cannot be compared with the Black Dragon. However, this man has a lot of magic in his hands, and Urusha's Arc of Time is taught from him. Lost magic, super magic, demon law, etc., so many powerful magic, can transcribe several mysterious runes at once. Moreover, this person also has a devil's heart in his hand. Since the powerful demon contains the origin of the world, this heart may also have the aura of the origin. Therefore, Qin Yang decided to contact the other party. Before that, deal with Gildas, this guy still owes me a favor. Qin Yang thought about it for a while, and immediately thought of it, and differentiated into a phantom body. The 9th change, Fear the Devil. Star rating. Ability 1, Dream Invasion. Ability 2, Fear the Scales. Ability 3, Demon King's Body. This transformation has not been used for a long time, but it has reached the limit of 3 stars. With a little more power of fear, it can break through 4 stars. After appearing at this moment, he immediately unfolded his demon wings and flew into the sky at once. With a glance, Qin Yang locked onto the forest not far from the temple, and there were 2 powerful magical auras. Are you in a stalemate? Yes, Gildas is a super S-rank magician, with magic power comparable to the Holy 10, comparable to Ulu, who was resurrected by me. Thinking of this, he moved and flew away immediately. In the forest, a piece of ice covering the earth, hundreds of meters in radius, has turned into a world of ice. The battle between Gildas and Ulu has raised the surrounding forest to the ground, and the scene is full of dilapidated traces. The 2 people who were in a stalemate suddenly changed their expressions. When they looked up, they saw a black shadow falling quickly, and with a bang, it smashed between the 2 sides. Of the visitor is terrifying, the upper body is naked, exposing the strong muscles, every piece is bulging, and it contains explosive power at a glance. On the top of its head, there are spiral double horns, and demon wings are gathered behind it. Demon. Vivi Kildas was startled. This image reminded him of Larabai. Is it the demon from the Book of Girth? And it's still in human form. As if seeing his thoughts, Qin Yang snorted coldly and said, don't compare me to that kind of man-made demon. My name is, the Great Demon King of Fear, the Master of the Abyss of Dreams. Saying that, he looked at Wulu. Your movements are too slow. Lord Qin Emperor is very disappointed. Hearing this, Ulu was silent, and she couldn't figure out what kind of existence the dread Demon King suddenly appeared. What about Gray and the others? Gildas frowned. It's been cleaned up. You're next. As soon as the words fell, Qin Yang stood up and stepped forward. His raised right hand turned into a punch and hit him hard. Seeing this, Gildas didn't dare to be too big, and when he was about to transfer the magic power to his right hand, he also punched him. Boom! The fist and fist collided, and a shock suddenly erupted. sweeping away like a gust of wind passing through. Kildas's complexion changed slightly, and he felt a shudder, and a chill rose from the bottom of his heart, as if facing a big terror. A trace of fear was born uncontrollably. And once fear has grown, it has begun to spread. Chinyang haha Isho said, "Your fear is delicious, I accept it." The scale of fear. Between the words, a phantom appeared behind him. It was a scale, and the swinging scale was tilting towards Chinyang. In an instant, Kildas felt a restraining force added to him, and his magic power was cut off by 10%. What? He was taken aback. What kind of power is this? He. Chinyang grinned Isho and got close again. Seeing this, Gildas didn't dare to fight recklessly at all. The opponent's brute force was very terrifying, and there was also a strange power. Therefore, he quickly retreated to dodge, and at the same time analyze the ability of the great demon king of fear. The sparring just now made me feel scared. This is not normal. This guy can manipulate my inner emotions. Don't hide, your sorcerer's fighting technique is really bad. Chinyang sneered, his wings spread behind him, and his speed suddenly doubled. In an instant, he had appeared behind Gildas and punched him mercilessly. What a great speed! Gildas' pupils shrank, and at the moment of crisis, an astonishing reaction force broke out. While he was retreating, he suddenly turned around and attacked again with the same punch. Smashing fist. Boom. It was another dull collision, but the next moment, Gildas flew upside down. Impossible. This guy's brute force is twice as strong as before. His wrist was dislocated and fractured, and his face turned pale. At the same time, Chinyang's body also exploded in an instant. Boom. His body was shattered and turned into hundreds of little people at once, each of which was like a doll. Gildas, who flew upside down, quickly stabilized his body, glanced over, and suddenly heaved a sigh of relief. Magic can still work, although this trick is not often used. It is very effective to smash the opponent into smashes, beat him into countless villains, and restrain the opponent in close combat. However, there was a burst of laughter. Ha ha ha, make yourself smart. A doll-sized dread demon flew into the air, and hundreds of villains surrounded Gildas. You smashed me into hundreds, and it did spread my strength and make me unable to fight in close quarters, but it's a pity. After the words of regret fell, hundreds of villains who were afraid of the great demon king suddenly began to swell, and in the blink of an eye, they had returned to their original appearance. What? Gildas's eyes widened, full of incredible colors. I am the great demon king of fear, the king of the abyss. It is easy to be reborn from a drop of blood, and it is not worth mentioning. Chinyang was disdainful. This clone, as long as there is still a drop of blood, can quickly recover, regenerate, not to mention, just smash it into a villain. The scale of fear just now was just to say hello. For a master of your level, it was only weakened by 10%, but what if it was hundreds of times? Chinyang, Isho, immediately stretched out his hand. Behind hundreds of fearful demon kings, a mysterious balance flashed in unison. The next moment, a gloomy wind gusted, and a storm of fear swept over Gildas. In an instant, Gildas fell into boundless fear, and the little fear that grew in his heart was magnifying infinitely. His complexion changed greatly, he trembled uncontrollably, and his own magic power was rapidly declining. 10%, 20%, 50%. In a blink of an eye, it was actually weakened by half. Your fear, thank you for the hospitality. Chinyang grinned and inhaled this delicious power. The next second, the great demon king of fear entered the star-rising mode. Puff! The dark fog filled the air, and the power of darkness enveloped all the hundreds of fearful demon kings. At the same time, in Chinyang's mind, the information of the transformation changed. The ninth change. Fear the Devil. Star rating. Chapter-601-620 It's you. The ninth change. Fear the Devil. Star rating. Ability 1. Dream Invasion. Ability 2. Fear the Scales. Ability 3. Demon King's Body. Ability 4. Terrorism Manifests. The newly emerged ability is Terrorism Manifestation. Qin Yang pondered for a while, and then clearly understood the specific situation of this ability. In short, the more fearful the opponent is, the stronger the Demon Lord of Fear will be, and at the same time, the Demon Lord will evolve towards what the target fears. For example, because of the fear in his heart, he imagines the Great Fear King as a huge monster with a height of 1,000 meters. Then, the Great Fear King will really become like this. The opponent feels that the Demon King of Fear is extremely powerful and can smash the island with one punch. Then, the Demon King of Fear can manifest this fear and have the power to smash the island with one punch. After understanding this, Qin Yang couldn't help but be a little surprised. What a powerful ability, no wonder it is called the Great Demon King of Fear. Is this the true form of this phantom body? It can be said that once fear begins to breed in the opponent's heart, the Great Demon King of Fear will become stronger and stronger. Moreover, this ability is almost unlimited. Even if it is a god, it can be killed. I saw that in midair, hundreds of fearful demon kings were shrouded in darkness, forming a tornado. It lasted for half a minute before the dark tornado suddenly disappeared. After that, hundreds of fearful demon kings merged into one and returned to their original appearance. Boom! When Qin Yang fell back to the ground, he was weakened by the scale of fear, and Kildas, who was bred with endless fear, trembled in his heart. The other party landed lightly, but in his view, it was as heavy as a mountain. It's over. Qin Yang strolled away, and every step he took, Kildas felt a part of fear in his heart. In his eyes, the 2-meter-tall Demon King of Fear has turned into a 100-meter monster, covering the sky and exuding a cold and evil aura. That human face has also turned into the giant mouth of a monster, and the words of 18 demons stare like a god of death. No, Kildas couldn't help but take a half step back, and there was a deep fear on his face. Everything he thinks will come true. Qin Yang immediately felt that his own strength was increasing sharply, and his body suddenly rose, turning into a monster with a body of 100 meters. The monster has 18 eyes, projecting evil eyes. Even his voice became extremely evil and heavy at this moment. Cha-cha, is this gesture what you fear in your heart? Humans. With the demon's roar, Qin Yang suddenly raised his right arm. It was like a shady curtain covering the sky, this palm lifted high and suddenly fell. Seeing this, Kildas's pupils shrank, and fear spread in his heart. Boom! The giant palm fell, the entire forest shook, and the ground collapsed. On the ground, there was a clearly visible palm print several meters deep. Not far away, Ulu sucked in a cold breath, and his heart was horrified. The shaking earth made her physically and mentally unstable, and she had to squat to maintain her center of gravity. Her beautiful eyes stared at the blow, and an indelible fear was born in her heart. According to what her daughter Arusha told her, inside the Dream Guild, Emperor Qin is the president, and under this, there is a vice president and 4 great masters. After that, the masters, cadres, and ordinary members. I didn't expect that it is just the master, and there is such a powerful power. What kind of monster is this dark guild? With the combat power shown by the great Demon King of Fear at the moment, I am afraid that 3 or 4 Holy Tens are not necessarily opponents. Moreover, what the other party uses is not magic. Dreams are so scary. If she is allowed to see the 5-star Uchiha Itachi, I am afraid this idea will be overturned immediately. However, Qin Yang did not pay attention to Wulu's mind. He slapped Kildath with one palm, causing the opponent to fall into a coma. As the opponent stunned, the form that he manifested due to fear disappeared immediately. He returned to human form. The ability 4 is really useful. Qin Yang secretly said in his heart, and immediately stepped into the palm print and grabbed Kilda's. Afterwards, he reached out and pressed the top of the opponent's head, and quickly transcribed, Super Superior Destruction Magic, Smash. After doing this, he said to Ulu, throw him off the island. Yes, Lord Great Demon King. Ulu quickly nodded respectfully. Just heard Qinyang continue. By the way, throw out your eldest disciple, the woman named Shui Li, and the 2 companions of these 2 people, and remember to recycle the ring. Huh. They have already lost their qualifications. After speaking, Qinyang ignored it and turned to walk towards the temple. And hearing this, Ulu couldn't help but feel awe-inspiring. Not to mention what Ulu was thinking, Qinyang, who had just returned to the temple, suddenly froze. Huh, someone actually used the black card to summon the shadow demon. The black card, the thing that the shadow demon uses the power of shadow to make. In this world, only 2 have been sent out. Who would it be? Mira. Qinyang thought to himself, and immediately transformed into a shadow demon. The next moment, he closed his eyes and locked the coordinates. With a thought, he shuttled through space and jumped away. Whoosh! A black light flashed, and the figure disappeared instantly. When the shadow demon opened his eyes again, he had already appeared in a magnificent bedroom. The decoration of the bedroom is extremely elegant. On a sofa, a man is playing with a black card and muttering words. Are you calling me? Qinyang looked at the other party, but felt a little awkward. Hearing these words suddenly, the man was startled, and when he looked up, he saw a dark figure who was still emitting black smoke. Monster! Monster! He screamed and threw the black card out of his hand in fright. Oh, it's you. Qinyang suddenly realized that this guy was the same mage who asked for directions when he first came to this world. At that time, he also took the other party's wallet, 46,200 J, so he gave back a black card. Tell me, what wish do you have? Since it is the black card given to you by Lord Deathwing, then I will grant you a wish. You. Man was so frightened that his lips turned purple, and he said shiveringly, Who are you? How did you get in? My name is Shadow Demon, Dream Messenger, I'm here at the summons. Qinyang carried his hands on his back, and above his dark face, a pair of eyes stared at each other calmly. Summon me with a black card, and I can grant you a wish. Of course, I suggest you make an assassination wish. No matter who it is, I can do it. It's fine to make a king disappear without a sound, and take out a big one. The heart of a rich man, even if you want the head of one of the 10 great magicians, I can satisfy you. Quote. Man swallowed his saliva, dream. The most vicious and evil dark guild in history.